Andrew, now.
Yeah, now you're good.
All right, I'm sorry. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to go ahead for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we'll start our owner comment period. I have a check-in sheet. Sorry, I'm a little rusty at this. So first one is 2711 Celebration Boulevard.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sit down. We got.
What's going on? How are you?
Yeah.
So I know I sent an email, which I'm sure you're going on roughly.
Sorry, can you state your name?
Jonathan Papetis, 2311 Celebration Boulevard. So I know I sent an email to the team roughly a month ago about the ongoing behavior that we're all aware of with the head of the art committee. I want to know what's being done about the behavior because it's been quiet for a month. I'm sure you've had plenty of time to talk and discuss it. I think you've seen more than enough proof that there's something going on super terrible in the area. What's going on about it? What are you guys going to do to fix that behavior?
So this is owner's comment. It's not necessarily response from the board during that time.
Just gonna listen to this.
So we typically listen during this time.
Okay.
I can tell you that it's being treated as a personnel matter, and that it is ongoing. But it isn't something that is currently.
You're not ignoring it. You're not trying to push this
So no,
address it.
it's still being addressed by the board.
Okay. Any idea for when the timetable when they may come to a
I
close?
can't share that.
Okay, but it is ongoing.
The rest of the directors can comment if they like, but right now, no.
Okay, but it is ongoing.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in or we good?
There's been action as recently as today.
Okay.
Thank you. 2303 Celebration Boulevard.
Excuse me, we can't hear out here.
Oh, sorry.
We
23.
used to face the audience or something. We just can't hear, so we're just sitting here mumbling.
Absolutely. I'll speak up. Sorry.
If the board members can leave, it will.
Can you hear me now?
That's
Now,
out.
Okay,
All right, perfect.
So Sarah Work, 2303 Celebration Boulevard. Just a few things. I've been emailing the board, and the standard response that I've been seeing on Facebook and in emails is that it has the board's attention. And while everything has the board's attention, that's great, but its action would be appreciated as well as attention. It goes back to the tenet of accountability, which is why some of you were elected. As elected people, the community puts their trust in you to take action. When something is not right, we would appreciate if it is actually addressed as opposed to attended to. Second of all, that goes with regard to the art issues that are in Island Village, and that when those things are allowed, therefore they may actually progress to other villages. And while I don't exactly have a dog in the fight because I don't have any art applications in, I don't think my neighbors should be treated like that. Second of all is regards to I was playing around on the website because I have nothing better to do, and I noticed that there's a $5 guest fee now that's been put on the soiree, spooky soiree. So I was there when the discussion was made about whether it goes to committee or not for recommendation, but I would think that that would come to a vote similar to other things that are recommended by committees, that the board would actually vote on it, so therefore it would be on an agenda, because it's impossible for anyone to go to all the committee meetings, because you all don't do that either. So along with the grill, which would have been appreciated for the Island Village, if it would have gone to a board meeting as an agenda item, that would be great, especially because the Spooky Four-Way did not require that $5 ticket last year. And for grandparents or whoever, because we are a town community with lots of kids, grandparents aren't necessarily going to participate in certain activities. Maybe you can look at maybe a model like that. If you are going to participate in an activity, get a wristband, similar to like Southern Hill Farms. So art committee, social, shade. I was at the meeting last year when we were told, and I was told strongly, do I want shade or, do I want shade for one park or do I want shade nowhere? Yeah, I want shade everywhere. I think everyone should have shade. This was last year. Do we have shade yet? No. Problem is, I believe this was discussed earlier in the year. Come on. Yeah. An update would be appreciated. Action would be even more appreciated. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. No. Oh, Marco, do you want to talk? No. No, okay. 2293 Celebration Boulevard.
Thank you for it.
No, that's okay. You got it. 505 Campus Street.
I agree, my Dr. Scribble.
It was good. I'm going for it. I do better with addresses.
Awesome. I thought I wasn't gonna be here tonight because I thought the PTA meeting was tonight, but that was last night, so I ended up here. So I sent you guys an email, for Academy Road and Meeting House Green. We'd like to opt out of gutter cleaning this year. We want to use that money in, other places. We've got some landscaping needs and some drainage issues that we want to put that money towards. So I know that's up for a vote tonight. And then also, really excited to hear the options that we have on the resale today. I know that's coming up in a little bit, so I'm super excited to hear what you guys have to say about that. And always excited to see people here. I mean, it's nice to see the community participating, and we've got a great board this year. So thanks a lot.
Perfect, thank you. Anyone online that has a homeowner resident comment?
I have an email that I want to read from one of the residents that was mailed to us today.
Sure, I'll move to recognize.
Allow it?
Yep.
Okay,
Go for it.
okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and I have permission from Nick to read this. My name is Nick Thompson, 1105 Tapestry Drive, a member of the Artisan Park Clubhouse Committee, which is unfortunately holding their monthly meeting at the same time as your CROA meeting is happening this evening. As I am unable to attend your meeting, I wanted to pass along comments that I have planned to present for your meeting. I've heard rumbling for a couple of weeks about adding a fee of 0.5% when a property is bought or sold in Celebration instead of using the current fee of 1 year of CROA dues. This would increase the funds going into capital contributions for new amenities to be built in Celebration. However, is this a fair way to increase those funds, and is this enough? One thing I believe we do right in Celebration is making sure all residents pay their fair share. By substantially increasing the cost to buy, sell a property in Celebration, we are putting the burden of paying for improvements on property transactions. Current owners would pay substantially less for any capital improvements, and the amount paid by new owners would vary significantly. A new owner buying a $300,000 condo would contribute $1,500, whereas an owner buying a $3 million estate would pay $15,000. But both would get the exact same access to any new amenity built in Celebration. I'm not saying that tax the rich isn't an option, but as a community, is this fair? The same result in funding could be done by keeping the 1 year of CROA dues at closing and increasing the monthly contribution per property by $16 a month to be put into the capital contribution fund. This continues to ensure that everyone in the community is contributing to the growth of our community and not focusing on one variable stream of funding, property sales. He also said that he pulled property sales going back to 2018 and sent a log of all of the sales, assessments, and the difference. The last part is, will doing either of these ideas be enough? It should, but probably not in a time frame that makes sense. The master planning group gave a proposal last night totaling around $15 million on the low side for improvements they think can be done. Doing either of the options above should bring in about $1.1 to $1.3 million per year. Your capital improvement fund appears to be around $3.9 million. Without taking into account major inflation, You are 9 years from having enough cash on hand to finish paying for all the projects NPAC resisted for their minimum improvements. Sorry, couldn't read that fast.
Perfect. And Celia, could you clarify the name and address?
That would be Nick Thompson, 1105 Tapestry.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Any comments from, online?
I think we'll reserve that for the capital assessment discussion item later.
All right. All right. With that, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll motion
I'll
with,
make a motion to adopt the agenda.
All right, so there's a motion from Jared for some modifications. Go ahead, Jared.
I'd like to note a change for action item B for the figure to be $6,650. Action item B, the total should be $6,650. I'd like to move discussion items A and G to the top of the list,
Top of discussion or prior to action?
prior to consent. I'd like to add a motion, I can say it as little words as possible. A motion to direct management to solicit applications for a master planning committee. So add a master planning committee motion after P. Q master plan.
Committee.
And add a motion to task management with soliciting bids for a firm to design a splash pad as R.
We have Q already on here, so.
Oh, sorry.
Go prior to R.
S and T.
Or S&T. What was the name?
S is master plan and T is splash pad.
I'll amend my second if I was, yeah, I'll amend my second to accept those.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, sounds good. Approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the prior minutes?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Celia?
I don't think we're approving any minutes for August 19th because there weren't any.
Got it. Okay, so did you guys hear that one? So that right now there's no minutes for August 19th because there are no minutes for that date. Now that they're missing, there's minutes.
There are no minutes. Right.
We're,
Gary?
we're approving the July, but well, are we approving all of them? So I guess let me clarify that. Are we going to do these one by one or what's? I mean, I'll certainly amend my motion, but.
Do you want to amend the motion to approve A through E, or do you want to do them one at a time?
A through D.
A through D, sorry.
A through D. Yeah, I'll amend my motion to approve A through D. Strike E.
And Celia, or who seconded, sorry?
I second. I'm good.
So, discussion? All right, call the question. All those in favor of approving A through D for the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I abstain.
All right, perfect. And then Jared abstains. All right, perfect. So we still need to take care, do we need to take care of E? Jacob, we're going. It's just gone, right?
Doesn't exist.
Perfect. Okay. So financial report.
Good evening, everyone. So the July financials ended with a $9,000 surplus. The largest drivers for expenses this time were some chairs for the dog park, some ceiling fans for Spring Lake Gym.
Sorry, can you really hug the microphone?
Sorry, really hug it in there.
Yeah, that's better. Is that a little bit better for everyone?
Yes.
A little bit
Okay, I
better.
apologize. So it's
Not great.
$9,000 surplus for July. We did have a couple expenses in there, but we had some really good revenue as well that made that up. For year to date, we are still sitting with a surplus of $19,000 for the year. So we're still doing good in operating. Your fund balance is currently, operating is 2.5 million, reserves is 1.9 million, and in capital, we have 3.9 million.
Andrew, any further discussion as treasurer?
Yeah, just the mulch expense that we approved is not going to hit until August. So these numbers are looking decent, but I'm going to continue to be cautious as we go into the end of the year that our expenses have run hot so far. And we've been fortunate so far that we've been getting a little bit of additional plats that weren't budgeted last year, as well as collection from other income from investments that are over expectation. So it's a little bit of a dangerous game right now, but we continue to be still ahead. But I think in the third and fourth quarter, that's where we're going to start seeing further deficits. So something that I think we just need to be very prudent in expenses through the operating CROA operating budget and expenses that we're sure we need to do it. And then I think probably starting in September, would be looking with the finance committee and grand manners to see if there's truly expenses that either could be pushed till next year or we don't need to use the entire budget so we can try to balance out 2024. But overall, still seem to be fairly in a decent position, but we'll see what August and the rest of the year bring.
Is the lease also going to start hitting next month that we just signed with Bank of America Suites?
Yes, your Bank of America Suites lease will show in your August financials.
Okay, so it'd be that, the mulch, and anything else that came through. Okay.
Any further discussion on financials? All right, committee and partner updates. So I'll start with committees. Does anyone have a committee update that they would like to share?
I will just talk about the Master Plan Advisory Group.
Good job.
They concluded their work. The meeting was last night. They have a 104-page report. They achieved the most community engagement than any report in the history of the town. Let's see, what were some of the highlights? It's definitely the most comprehensive master plan that's ever been provided.
And it was free.
And it was free, yes. I without question, we could not have gotten a better strategic plan, master plan, even if we hired an outside consultant. It might have come faster when you're paying someone to do it, but it wouldn't be any better. So I'm excited for that to be shared with the community and for us to start taking action on that as soon as tonight. For master plan. And thank you to all of them for their hard work. A lot of professionals that should have made a lot of money doing what they did for us. So
A lot of value.
appreciation. Yeah.
I'll just say, for Artisan, they had their work this month and they did their budget and their actual board meeting is happening right now.
Perfect.
Let's see, Paul, you want to speak on behalf of the dog park committee?
Everything that's, we're.
Everything is what?
You know, okay. The shares that we got, we appreciate them. They were $400 a piece, and you can get them on Amazon for $147.
We didn't have that discussion at our last.
Well,
meeting.
I mean, obviously, there was a last minute, let's reach out and just get it done to satisfy the dog park
I don't think so.
committee. That's, you asked me to speak.
No, I wanted you to speak on, in regards to our last meeting.
What happened at our last meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah, our last meeting was, we decided that I would attend that story,
right,
which I did, and we had a table.
right.
We're going to be there. We don't have, they haven't been able to find our banner, so we'll work around that. I was going to ask the committee to ask the board if we could have $50 so that we can get a canopy in case it rains. But that's in the next meeting, not a big deal. The meeting went off very well. We asked that they back off from Ryan a little bit, Ryan on the dog park, because I think he's got a lot more than he can do, although he just put the stones down, they're perfect. I'm not happy with what they do with the grass. I keep asking them to cut it above scalp level. Plus they did some ruts. That's been taken care of. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the response that I got Our new friend over there, Jacob, was out there the next day looking at it.
Was he wearing a suit while he was inspecting the dog?
Actually,
So,
no,
I
and he
wanted
did
to
have a
that.
funny bottle.
Yeah, all right.
He didn't know if he had to deal with me or
No,
not.
all right.
Okay, and they also, there was a communication in regard to the spraying of the dog park.
Right, well,
That
that's,
Nikki said would start as soon as they confirm with the committee, that would start in
we approved the
September.
chemical. Yeah.
Right, they approved that. They're looking for some rewording on the rules of the dog park.
Yeah, we're talking about having, we have to do something, come up with a definite idea on this, the dogs that are small versus the dogs that are big.
Right.
35 pounds could be a pretty big dog. I have a dog that weighs 40 pounds and he's huge, so she's 5 pounds from being able to go in there. We had to come up with something. Also, we're gonna have to know the breed. You have a puppy that's gonna be 150 pounds, you want that puppy to be socialized with the dogs it's gonna be playing with. So we got some right there. We asked them to check with the attorney on what our rights would be, where we stand, which our liability. And I can't think of anything else. I wasn't really prepared to talk tonight, but if you want, I could talk for an hour and a half.
I do want to see if the communication regarding the dog park, small dog, large dog, if that communication about the temporary suspending the small
I
dogs.
think we're discussing it on our agenda.
Yeah, it's an action
tonight.
item for discussion.
It's on our agenda.
Yeah, I saw that in the bottom.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Also, Lifestyles, there's a comedy show on September 12th down in Artisan. They're still selling tickets to that. There's 2 showings. The Home Expo is September 21st. That's going to be at Lakeside. The Spooky Soiree, there was discussion in July and there was discussion in their August meeting about the $5 charge for guests. It's 2 guests, and after that, there's going to be a $5 charge. It's part of our governing documents that I'm pretty sure, Lauren, that we can charge if it's a special event.
Yes, you can charge if it's a special event you have in the past for non-residents.
Right, the non-residents. We've done it before down at the Civic Quarter during the Fall Fest. We've done that down there. So it has been discussed with both committees, with the committee, with both months. And they're looking forward to the Founder's Day concert, and that will be at Lakeside November 8th from 7 to 9. And the service areas are going to start discussing their budgets coming up. And that's it. And Peg, they were amazing last night. Amazing,
Can't say enough good about that.
yes.
So from ARC, there's just one question that the committee did want to follow up with management on. And that was the streamline approval of the doorbell guidelines, because I believe we either passed that, the notice period to that point in time now.
Yes, we can start implementing.
So just, we want to know if there's going to be a formal communication out to the community that essentially said, we're going to start doing this now, and then ensuring that management was prepared for that as well.
We're ready to go. We've had conversations with Angelica, our art coordinator, Danica, the community standards manager, and the front counter lady, so everybody's all aware of the change. We have a communication prep to go out that was going to go out this week, but because of the staffing changes that occurred, it got delayed, so it'll go out next week.
All right. Any other committee comments?
Yeah, I can give technology update. So there was a meeting with Mayberry regarding cameras. That was a really positive discussion. And sounds like there's just going to be ongoing discussion on ownership of cameras and how long we need to keep them and things of that nature. So that's a work in progress. That Mayberry did have a recommendation for some cameras to go in. They will use similar equipment to what we currently have, but more to come on that front. Regarding the keycard access with Gallagher, that install, I believe, is near complete at Artisan Park Clubhouse. They're just working through, I think, some minor kinks regarding the database and getting that all up and running. So that should be the final piece. And Lauren in their management update can provide additional there. And then the next focus through the end of the year will be more on the rollout of the O&R application that will have the key card access and replacement for RecPro. So that's next up as far as what features it will include and what that project plan will look like for rollout.
Perfect, thank you, Andrew. Any other comments, committee comments?
Yeah, I'll give an update on communications, and then I know Vic is in the audience, so I'll recognize her for recreation. Communications is really doing awesome. We met a couple weeks ago, and there's some effort underway to look at the brand guidelines. And what we got as a first pass was really focused on more so color palette and looking at changing a few things, not the green, but they were introducing some different colors and trying to evolve the look. I had some concerns just about how it was done, and I think we're gonna bring the agency back at the next meeting just to talk through it, because I'm accustomed to a little bit of a different process where, you know, they're really looking at the overall story and key messages and certain things. So it was a little bit unusual, I think. So hopefully more to follow there, but it was definitely good to see that in flight. CROA SMS, we should be approving that today. So adding another communication channel, I think for $30 is pretty solid. The decision was made to sunset Twitter as a social media platform because we just don't get a lot of engagement there. So the focus is going to be on some of the other communication channels. They are looking at covenants letters right now, looking at ways to change some language, keep it maybe a little bit softer, obviously working in partnership with the covenants committee. So that's certainly something that they're tasked with looking at, and hopefully we'll have some comments and recommendations soon. And I think that's it for the committee. They've got a lot on their plate. And obviously what we talked about yesterday with MPAG, the committee will certainly be at MPAG's disposal if there are opportunities to create sound bites or different things for the master plan results and things that can be digestible like we talked about. So I'll certainly speak for the committee. I think they'd be eager to help with that. I think Vic is in the audience. Vic, would you mind giving a couple of highlights? Hi. Do you mind giving a couple of highlights of the rec committee? I don't want to steal your thunder.
I see.
I can't do it justice. She can do it justice.
For the Recreation Committee, it was the summer of workshops. We did a ton of workshops and really tried to get the community involved, asking for their opinion of what they wanted us to put our efforts towards focusing on. We had great turnout from the community from it. We had very diverse opinions, which were super welcomed. We did a brainstorming session with Post-its where everything anybody in the community would want to be addressed could put it on a Post-it. And then we took all those Post-its and grouped them and looked for themes and used that to prioritize what we're going after. One of the biggest concerns was park monitors and asking for more of that seasonally, weekends versus weekdays, et cetera. So we put together a plan. We also got together with Lifestyles and Special Events Committee to get their thoughts on it, because we know that park monitors affect what they do as well. And then we had a joint meeting with Jim from Finance as well to kind of run different things from through him. So with that, things will be presented in regards to the budget coming up. In addition to that, we also talked about different events that were being here. We're talking about looking at the amount of guest passes that come along with things. We're noticing that, for instance, if 4 people live in a house, then 4 people can bring someone to the pool. And so one address could have 20 people at the pool legally. And so that's what we're seeing a lot of right now. We don't have the solution for that, but that will continue to be discussed at the meetings. We got some input from our brainstorming session of what residents would like to see, and that's what we're going after. Moving forward, we are also looking at contracts, whether it's partner programs. We will begin to do contracts for education groups and clubs and things like that, so that
our motto is consistency. So by doing those contracts, the goal is to create consistency, but then also to work with each of the types groups of stuff that will be a win-win for that type of group, as well as a win for the community. So that's what we've been up to.
Good. That's good.
And I want to reinforce just some of the stuff you don't hear necessarily, but this committee, I want to take a couple of seconds because the committee has dealt with a lot going back to last year and years past with obviously all the Lot D and Lot B stuff. They really continue to just do amazing world-class work, and they really deserve just an unbelievable amount of credit for everything they do. Some things you see, some things you don't see. So kudos to Vic and the entire committee. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other committee updates?
Charles? Covenant?
That's all you.
Last meeting. Gary? Covenants? Nothing?
No news.
Okay, no news.
No report from covenants. Sounds good. CCDD, I don't think Don is online, correct?
Correct.
All right, perfect. Celebration Foundation.
Good evening, can you hear me?
We
Okay.
can.
Well, thank you, Eric. I'm Kathleen Cipio. I'm the Executive Director of the Celebration Foundation. I feel like I'm going to give you a lot of dates, so if you want to grab your calendar, starting with today, was back to school for the Celebration Lifelong program of the Celebration Foundation. We have registration at Island Village Clubhouse, and we saw a lot of new faces. People that were just going to the pool or going to the gym wandered in and said, "What is this?" and then joined immediately for a lifetime of learning. Those courses will be in September, October, and November. Our next Community Connections is, correct me if I'm wrong, September 16th, at 690 Celebration Avenue. All of this can be found online. I'm just giving you the human touch. After that, we're bringing back the porch parties in October. They were the Lights and Lemonade formerly. We brought them back in April. It was a huge success. We had 8 porches involved. In July, we went inside to Island Village Clubhouse, and I have to tell you, people enjoyed it so much, sitting and talking with each other, just connecting, that I think it might be a little hard to get them back out on the porches because there's no air conditioning, but we're going to try. So we have 5 porches signed up right now. We're looking for 8 or more. So please go to the website or call the foundation office. It is Sunday, October 13th, and we give you all the supplies. We make it as easy as we can. You just supply the porch and the cookies. And then the holidays will be here. Yes, I said it. The holidays will be here before we know it. We are starting the holiday season with a concert on Wednesday, December 4th with Bhakti. They were sold out before when they came to Community Presbyterian Church. Individual tickets will go on sale this Sunday online, and that starts our concert series called Through the Decades. We're going to take you through the 60s, the 70s, 80s, and the 90s with a different concert every month. And then we have that little event, that 3-day event called the Holiday Home Tour and Magical Marketplace. It is always, when people ask me the date, the first weekend in December. So we started Friday night with a Sparkle Soiree. It's being held at the Artisan Clubhouse. And then we follow with Saturday and Sunday. And I can't tell you the houses on the tour because they're a secret until the day of. But we have 12 stops to date on the tour. So all this could not happen. I think you may have heard me before call this the year of the volunteer. Every year is the year of the volunteer because we do so much and it wouldn't happen without everyone. So we have some volunteer opportunities right now with our Learning Without Hunger program. We need some hunger heroes to show up every Friday, Celebration KH School, Island Village, to distribute our weekend meal packs. You do need to be OASIS approved. We have the link. We can send it to you in an email, and you would just hand the weekend meal packs to each student in need for them to have food on the weekends. We'd love you to host a porch party. We'd love you to sign up
to volunteer for the Holiday Home Tour. And we'd love for you to participate in any volunteer opportunity that the foundation has on their website. So I attended the meeting last night, Jared, that you spoke about. And I have to say that volunteer committee did an outstanding job. And it's the year of the volunteer. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Can I ask a question? Well, I will anyway.
Yeah.
Since Diane is here, did she give her report and then?
She's next on the agenda.
She's next on the agenda.
Is she?
Yeah, we moved up A.
Okay.
So,
That's it.
perfect. So we're all good. So there's nothing on the consent agenda. So, all right, so we're gonna move to the first discussion item A, which is
Is there
the,
really nothing on this?
We don't have a.
so, we're gonna move to, Long Meadow Playground, the update. And I'd like to recognize Diane for that.
Oh, I was asking about this playground.
No, well, we'll start with Long Meadow.
Okay, for Long Meadow,
Sorry, Diane. Can you
Oh.
just, introduce yourself?
oh, my name is Diane Honell, sorry, Diane Honell with Honell Property Maintenance, otherwise known as the Playground Lady, but I am a certified playground inspector, so I've been
Perfect.
overseeing mainly spring park.
Thank you.
And then in Long Meadow, I've been kind of taking things out of Long Meadow, so it's kind of half empty right now. I rewrote some of the RFP that was originally written by Vigilant. And I know that I was talking to Lauren about it going out for bid, but when you look at the list, it looks like an awful lot of things that have to be done, but in reality, in my world, it's not a lot of things that have to be done. And I don't necessarily, it's just my recommendation, I don't necessarily think that the whole entire thing needs to be sent out for a request for price. My company can do a lot of the little things that have to be done on the unit that I listed out that should have been done when it was first installed. All of the purchases for the swing set and the pod steppers that are replacing things that have been taken out have to come, well, they don't have to, but they should come from playgroundequipment.com because that is the manufacturer that's predominantly on that playground. They originally sent me somebody from Sarasota. I requested Creative Recreation Products because they're a local rep for playgroundequipment.com and I think they're more accessible. And you have to purchase those items from them and they also do installation. So it kind of makes sense, depending on the timing and if the board is open to it, to have my company address some of the little things that should have been done. I can take out the swing set. There's a lot of things that my company can do. Playgroundequipment.com can put in the things that we're purchasing, well, you are purchasing from them. And really the only thing that would need to be bid out is the turf. Playgroundequipment.com does do turf. I can't speak to them on turf. I've never worked with them on turf. I've given Lauren the name of a company that I have worked with that has been spectacular turf installation, another playground. But I think we can save a lot of maybe headaches because there's a lot of installation companies. Normally the way they work, they will only install for who they work for. So Burr, Playmore, those kinds of things. There's a lot of companies that will not install somebody else's equipment.
Can you educate me a little bit more on playgroundequipment.com? Are they someone that you've worked with in the past? Are they a actual distributor of playground equipment, or are they like a aggregator that they have multiple different manufacturers that then they're reselling?
No, they are the manufacturer, playgroundequipment.com, but unlike, so Burke at Spring Park, for example, that is a very large playground equipment company. You buy from them and it's their installers or somebody that they hire that's going to put the equipment in. Playgroundequipment.com is the manufacturer, but they work in a dealer network type of a thing. So if you are going to buy something from them, you find a dealer within their network that's in your area. They are the person that you're actually buying the equipment from. They're servicing the warranty for that equipment, and typically they're doing the installation. So it's a little bit different setup, but and they're usually a lot less expensive than the Playmores or the Burks or the LSIs.
Sure.
But the only difference is I have been dealing with them, and they've been very reluctant about that. because typically they want me to go back and deal with the person or the company that did the installation. In this instance, that's not possible.
Right.
But typically you're buying from somebody in their dealer network and you're working with that person. Hopefully that makes sense, that company out of their dealer network.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a couple other questions, but I don't want to talk. So with the playground equipment and the piece that we're recommending for Longmeadow, I know you had said, obviously we want to try to stick within a manufacturer, for the playground space. My concern is that we haven't had a great experience with playgroundequipment.com and trying to deal with them.
Right.
So my concern is there's a lot of little things at Longmeadow that we need to do, but are we going to experience a challenge with them later down the road when inevitably something breaks? Something's going to break at some point. And so I'm trying to find out if it makes sense for us to say that we need to actually find a different manufacturer of equipment, even if that means that they need to replace more components of the playground, or if you would feel comfortable with playgroundequipment.com with some of the pieces that we need or that we're missing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So when you're replacing parts you can't commingle from one manufacturer to another on a composite structure. That's what it's called, a composite structure. So you would have to get replacement parts from them. Obviously the bridge was an issue.
Yeah.
I really wanted a solid arched bridge or a crawl through tunnel, but the space between the two platform decks is just too long. So the only thing that they could come up with is the pod climber.
Okay.
But I can't go to a Burke or an LSI or a Playmore and say, hey, I need to find something that's going to fit in between this 92-inch space and commingle two manufacturers in one unit. Are you going to have problems getting things from them? Maybe. I mean, it has been a very long, difficult road for me to deal with them because they keep wanting me to go back to the original installer.
Right.
I would have to ask Dave with Creative Play if he would be willing to take ownership of the rest of the equipment there should we need to replace parts. The swing set you certainly can get from somebody else. I had just chose one from playgroundequipment.com so that everything is kind of cohesive. The only thing that's an outlier is I had suggested putting in a sensory panel where those two spring rockers were, because every time I've been there, there's just a lot of really small children at that playground that's not designed for, so that gave them, something that playgroundequipment.com didn't have anything that would fit in that space.
Yeah. So the board understands kind of where my head is at with this playground is I think that anything that is as part of a composite structure, I understand that we need to probably keep them within the same of what we have. If we're not going to rip the thing out and put in something else, because obviously there's an expense with that. I would feel more comfortable longer term with if there's another freestanding piece of equipment that we look at a player that we would likely be able to be easier to get parts from in the future, even if it's something as simple as the swing set or other pieces that we're putting in. But that's just kind of where my head's going with this. We haven't had great luck with playgroundequipment.com, and that's why I'm kind of worried there.
So this came up last year, and I don't know that we haven't had great luck with playgroundequipment.com. I think it's been everyone else in that process. And maybe that's the problem. I can't say that it isn't, so I do like the suggestion of finding out if their local rep will take ownership of this.
That's fair.
But last year, on December 29th, the whole board was in agreement that we were going to use this equipment and we were going to use playgroundequipment.com here and there, and everything was fine. And a resident spoke about something and there was a dramatic change that everything was unsafe. So
That's not true. Not true.
If it wasn't safe here, I don't know, you say it's safe there, and I believe you that it's safe there. So I think if they're going to take ownership of it, I think that's okay, but we should look at that. I agree, we should do that.
Yeah, understand what's going on there. So are there other...
And I'm going to well, never mind, forget it.
Are there other pieces, are there any composite structures that we're looking at replacing at Longmeadow?
No. it's really just the bridge that needs to be, something else needs to go in that place. And without picking up the small corner, because originally I was thinking, okay, well, if we put a crawl-through tunnel that, even though children under 5 shouldn't be on that particular playground, that gives, you know, they can go through there. There isn't anything that's 92 inches, and I was suggesting picking up that small triangular corner that just has one slide and one climbing wall and moving it closer so that we could put a tunnel through. I've done that kind of stuff because I tend to work on the back end of things, but the installer just wasn't wrapping his head around. He said, if we do that, we're never going to be we're going to have to replace the slide. And, you know, so I just figured, all right, well, let's just leave it the way it is. If nobody can seem to understand what it is that I'm trying to suggest, and we'll find something that, you know, fits in the middle. The rest of the stuff on there is just a lot of things that should have been tackled before the park was open after installation. A couple of them sound simple, like for example, on the double slide, there's a lot of gaps between the decks and the slides. And those are entanglement hazards where a child would sit down and a piece of clothing could get stuck in there. The simple aspect would be to tighten the fasteners and pull those gaps together. The problem is, I think, a little more difficult than that because everything on the right side lines up, everything on the left side doesn't line up. So that is telling me that very likely the deck was not leveled and that post was not leveled before they poured the footer. So maybe we can use a ratchet strap to get them pulled together to fix those those openings. Or that may be something where we have to redo the footer when the turf is out.
Sure.
It sounds worse than it is, but it has to be.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it has to be dealt with. I don't know that it's worth scrapping the whole thing. But Dave with Creative Recreation is very open to helping with everything, and I can order everything from him. So, you know, if he can take ownership of, if we need a part, we can call him and get it.
Sure.
I think that would be worth.
Even if we want to bring in parts kit for, just to keep here,
Sure.
if we're concerned about the longevity of the company or anything like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think the purpose of this discussion item was essentially to get kind of a plan ready to go, because we want to make sure that once we're complete here, we know there's going to be impact to Long Meadow, especially with the turf that the playground's going to have to close. So
Right.
we're
Now,
trying to.
That's the whole fun thing about the timing, because the sensory item from LSI is roughly 6 to 8 weeks out after it's paid for. Everybody needs their money up front. The swing set, I think, is an in-stock item, meaning that's probably in the 6 to 8 range week as well. The pod steppers are more in the 12 to 14 week range.
As long as you're talking about weeks and not years, I think we're all right.
And then Dave's company is pretty well booked up, solid through October. I kind of am pretty well booked up until like the 1st of December. So I wouldn't, it gets a little tricky if you want to order the parts and they go to Dave and he kind of hangs on to them if you've got a place to store them here. I know I've been taking a lot of stuff down to the maintenance shop, so they're kind of getting filled up down there. I wouldn't close the park until we're ready to move on, you know, taking things out, because once we start, we're moving, because I can take out the footers, I can take out the swing set, but then you start disrupting the turf. I can take out the turf and the padding so the potential vendors can look at the surfacing underneath, because we don't know that that's how it should be or not.
Right.
The main thing is you don't want to have vendors coming in and start pulling up the carpet, so to speak, so they can see what's underneath there before they've been on it, because then you're making a big mess and you get trip hazards.
I think my concern there is that if we know, so if we're looking at this and we're saying it's not even going to be a potential December start date,
Right.
Until we get anything there, I'm not comfortable with closing that, even though the playground doesn't look great. You know, we have stuff closed, we have stuff blocked off,
Yeah.
but there's something there, and I know my kids are flying on it. So.
I have a question. So, once we do, say it starts with December, and we've ordered this stuff and it's on site, ready to go, how long would the total process be?
I would have to talk to Dave to see what his process is. It would be a matter of just a couple days for me to come in and pull the footers out that need to come out and get the swing set out. I'd have to talk to Dave if he's comfortable with most installers don't like to reinstall stuff, so I may end up being the one reinstalling the merry-go-round. But that's just a matter of a couple days, you know, like I would say within a couple of weeks total as far as taking the turf out. The only issue, the only hangup that we've got to figure out is you really want to have a turf person decided upon. So the ones that comes out. So the only suggestion that I would have, and it isn't going to give them a full picture, would be to use that white stuff, that white plastic board that I used as a border, pick a, you know, like under the spiral slide and actually wall that off, you know, make a gate that locks so the potential vendors, and then pull the turf up in there. So the kids can't get to it, but potential vendors can go in, you know, at least look there and make sure that there's enough base gravel in there. And again, it's going to give them a picture of one spot, not the whole thing. And hopefully, you know, maybe they can give you this is the best case scenario if the underlayment is great, and this is the worst case scenario, you know, if it's not. But if I'm pulling out the turf and the padding, I would have no need to have a dumpster there. We would just haul it off as it's coming out. So the only thing that I would say that can be done ahead of time is the bollards out in the front, which I know that's a short street with a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, but they really need to be there. There's absolutely nothing stopping the car from just going on into the playground.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I think what do we need? Continuing on the path that we are and getting the more information that we're going to get seems to be like the next logical step.
Yeah, I think the question that if we go down the road, we get the more information, we have a bunch of pieces together, do we need to do a presentation to the community?
Depends how much it costs.
It depends on how much it costs, right? I don't know if we're getting to that stage yet.
Do you have an estimate of like, if we go this route, would it be under 250,000?
So are we talking about, so are we talking about bypassing, I just want to make sure, because this is also where we would be bypassing our own RFP guidelines. And like, I guess how would that even, can we just talk through that? Or maybe we need to talk about that separately, but how would we even award this and issue it and manage it?
Yeah, I think the question is we go out to RFP, it's whether or not we're going to get anyone to actually respond.
Because it's
right. You can look back. You can look back at the December RFP that was non-responsive and pushed through. But no, I agree with you. But how would we map it this time to make sure that we don't run into the same failures as last time?
I think the biggest piece for me is, bluntly, I'm much more comfortable with Diane here.
Yeah.
Helping steer the ship. The other piece here is the one piece that I do think that we need to figure out and likely would go out for some sort of a bid is the surfacing is the turf.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be the expense, and there's a lot of people that would be able to do that.
Yeah, so we can bid the turf.
Yeah.
But if we can get rough numbers from you to figure out what we need to do.
I'll give you some rough numbers on the part that I would do.
Yeah.
The only thing that I will say is you're going to get a really wide sort of space on the space, like the spacing on the slide, because I do not know if I've got to deal with the footer or not.
Yeah.
So it could be just as easy as ratcheting those two posts and being able to get them tightened, or that is absolutely not going to happen, and we got to deal with the footer to fix that. I've already talked to Dave about getting just fasteners. Because typically when you're trying to do that, maybe they're stripped. I don't know what the problem is, so I would rather have fasteners on hand so that if I've got to, usually when you take them out, they don't go back in quite the same way. And that's minimal.
Can the numbers include Dave's part as well? Like
I'll
we
get
need
a price
everything.
from him, because I have no idea how much the pods are going to cost. Because I also talked to him, because the very last pod has like a rod that goes up, over, and down, and it connects to the middle of the receiving platform deck. Right now, I've got two guardrails there, and so that's going to be too tight. So I had been talking to him about those have to come off. Does something have to go back in there, or are we okay with just that one bar in the middle? So I'll get a price from him on how much the pods are going to cost, what his installation costs are, and I can give that to you. If he said he is willing to put in the sensory item. I don't know that he wants to pull out the decks. They normally don't put in anybody else's equipment that he knows LSI. If he doesn't, I can put that in. So, I can just give you prices on all of that. I can put up the construction fence. I mean, I know that you guys inherited the construction fence at Spring Park. I don't know if you want to continue with that, or if you want to, maybe put that up.
You do own the orange fence?
We can reuse it.
Yeah. It's a little tattered in some areas.
It's a small area.
It's a small area.
Well, we need to fence in the entire circle on the outside of the sidewalk.
Got it. Okay.
Because the turf, whatever you decide to put in is gonna come up to the sidewalk, and that's kind of where we run into an issue over there, because it was on the inside of the sidewalk, it was kind of way for grading, turfing and all that kind of stuff, but it seems like a lot of stuff that has to be done over there, but it's, in my world, it's just a lot of repairs that have to happen.
Okay.
To what you said about the balance, because that's what my focus is. It's been like that for 2 years, why nothing has ever been placed there, because somebody goes through that stop sign, they're going right into the playground. So aside from the playground equipment, what has to be replaced, can we at least do that?
Oh, that can definitely be done outside of, and there's very specific guidelines that you have for ballards with regards to the playground.
Right.
You're gonna have a lot of ballards there. They have a maximum, there's, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 38 feet between those two sidewalks.
Right.
And for playgrounds, ballards can be no more than 42 inches apart. So, and they have deflection limits and all of that kind of stuff. And I know there's gonna be, I'm gonna have to get Brian involved, there's gotta be a million roofs in there.
Right. So can we?
But I can give you a price for
So I
that
think-
separately.
I think we'll need two things. I think we're gonna need a price for the bollards and installation themselves, but I do think that we're gonna need to figure out how to give visual screening of this. So if that means that we need to look at any landscaping, planting in the area to make the bollards less visually obtrusive, that we're gonna need to figure that out there.
So there are,
It's just like putting decorative sleeves over them, so that they're not these ugly bright yellow, because normally I've got to look up what all I need, but it's a big thick steel ballard with a massive footer, full of concrete.
Is it like, it's like when you're driving up to McDonald's near the.
Yeah, you see those big
window.
ugly yellow, yeah,
That's what it is.
They can
Yeah.
come in all different shapes.
Yeah, but they make decorative sleeves that are pretty, it's an
Right.
additional cost, but it goes over the top of them, so
Right.
aesthetically, the people that are flanking that park are not gonna look at a big ugly
Maybe the
steel.
and we'll work with ARC on that one too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll move to recognize Brian, if that's okay?
Albert, the landscape architect, Albert, we already walked along the road. We identified that they need to do some kind of ballard type blockage in front of that park. He is already incorporating landscape that would work. Perfect.
I also think those are,
Camouflage them?
Not to camouflage them, but to beautify them. So
Okay.
it would be low, so you can still see the ballard, but it wouldn't be like, well, what's there now is dirt, but grass and then a ballard sticking.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
this is, I think, two separate projects for us.
Yes.
it is, yeah.
Yeah. So Lauren, Jacob, do you guys have enough to go on from this discussion?
Yeah, so we'll get ROMs from Diane, ROMs from Dave, ROMs on the turf, so we know if we need to do a community presentation or not, and so we can discuss next steps with the board, and then information on pricing and logistics for the bollards.
Sound good?
We probably need 3 bids.
I honestly don't know how much bollards cost, so,
I think they're gonna be more than 5,000.
well, 10,000 is the bid.
Oh, is that, okay, then.
And
We
as
might
far
not.
as.
I mean, I can provide you, I can give Lauren all of the specifics that are required for ballards.
Like how many we need,
Playground
I guess
stuff.
she needs to know how many we need, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to do the math, but I think it's at least 9, because you've got 38 feet wide. And I don't remember if there's a tree suitable on either on the outside part of the sidewalk, or if we need a ballard there too.
Yeah.
But the ballards can be no more than 42 inches apart.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
So we'll get that info.
So, I mean, I can give you a bid for it, and then I will also send Lauren all of the ASTM specifications as far as load deflection that needs to happen, and you can get more bids.
Okay, sounds fair.
Well,
Two comments
ahead.
for you, Diane, on the, I think you said the 92-inch bridge. Is there an ability to either split that into two 46s with a footing in between, or even some platform that has two smaller bridges for that location?
I'd have to take that back to playgroundequipment.com. Well, I'd actually take it to Dave. they would have, their factory would have to come up with something that is custom made, which maybe they can, but I don't know how long that would take or what the cost would be. So if you're looking to have a solid bridge that goes, that goes through that span, I can ask them.
Yeah, when I hear custom, that means expensive. So I'd probably want to steer clear from that. But then is there something of, a little ladder that goes up on each side or a climbing wall or something? Maybe that's more appropriate and we just scrap the whole bridge idea.
Oh, there is not going to be a bridge there. These are, there's a picture of them and I can send it to Lauren separately so she can send it to you. They're pod climbers. They're little plastic discs that like a ladder that you climb up and there's 3 of them in between. So you can climb, the kids can just climb up and then climb down and they get to the top and kind of walk across to the platform decks.
Okay. And then second, which might be a little bit of a pivot, but I believe our shade structure contract was approved May 24th of this year, and now we're 3 months after. So Lauren, can you give us a little bit of an update there? And then for the board, do we need to get Diane involved if that's part of her wheelhouse to get that project moving?
So as I mentioned last board meeting, I believe, they were given bad information by Jeff to kick this project off. I talked to them today. They are in the middle of permitting, so they are moving through the process, and they are being communicative.
So what park is this for?
It's for East Village and Island Village.
Would it make sense to have a project manager? I mean, because we paid the deposit, I think it was June 14th.
Yeah.
And per their contract, it said 8 to 10 weeks. And there's still no permitting done. So, I mean, how long is that going to take? And I don't know if there's constant follow through on these 4 shade structures that, like Andrew said, we approved in May.
So I didn't discover that they had bad information until the last time I gave an update on this. And I got them the good information. If you want to hire a project manager, you can. They are being communicative now. There was a.
This is what I'm thinking though. We knew the project was delayed back in, I think, May, beginning of June, because of a contract that was done improperly. And that had to all be redone at no fault of the boards. So if we are to get a project manager, if we are to hire Diane, I feel that Grand Managers should also reimburse us for the shade structures. And that's what I've mentioned to the board, that I feel like Diane should, if she's available.
Yeah, that's a big kicker. I don't know when you're trying to.
It's a small project. It's 4 shade structures, 2 for pools and 2 for playgrounds. And
now pools, I have no pool equipment.
It's just the pool equipment.
Oh, pool equipment.
It's very small.
Okay.
And
because like at East Village, we still have to, the little shade structure that's on the unit is going to have to come off. Yeah. And I have not got any update from Debbie. That was one of the things on my list to do, because basically my suggestion was to cut the support posts, because they kind of go in, and so I wanted to cut them off and purchase post caps and, drill the holes and put post caps on there. But I need the blessing, the way that I work, I don't touch the playground unless whatever it is that I'm doing, the playground manufacturer said, yep, that's how you need to do it. Here's the stuff, like you buy it from them. And I needed to make sure, which I haven't got feedback on, if I'm cutting off these posts and purchasing post caps and doing, drilling the divots in the field, is it voiding the warranty? Have we done some kind of, after the market modification that's going to void the warranty? Verbally, she said she didn't think so, but I didn't get anything in writing.
So we're
So we're talking about
East Village.
So what's their excuse with the crappy equipment that's down there? With all the paint and everything and the slide not working,
I don't know. I told her that we had about 6 rollers on the slide that were not working, and then some of them, because I don't know if they've been not working the whole time. Some of them are down to bare metal, which you're not supposed to have on a playground.
And the paint literally chips off.
Yeah. I had asked for a touch-up paint for them. She didn't have really any.
That's a lot of touch-up paint.
I know. Well, she said they have full-size cans, which is wonderful, because usually when I get them, they're like 1,000.
So I think I want, sorry.
That's okay.
I want to focus us here a little bit. So I think we're clear on the Long Meadow playground piece and that sort of piece. I think we're pivoting into a discussion about the shade structures and what we need to do there, which I think is a valid question, that sort of thing. Is that something that we want to handle now, or is that something that we want to do under board comments?
Can we just, I would just personally like to know if that would even be an option for you personally to do that, to project manage.
No, that part I get. What are we talking about in the time frame? Because
Well, it would probably be a project taking place right now because we already paid the deposit in June, 50%, I believe.
Okay.
So they're in the process, I believe, and I hope, of getting the permits. And then it's just a matter of just making sure that, like you said, with East Village, there's some things that would probably, you could add some value to make sure that it's done properly.
Do we have,
and making sure that they're on track so these, shade structures just don't keep lingering. I mean, you've done such a
did
good
somebody
job.
that knows about playgrounds with the shade structures?
360 was the company that we received to do it. So we have basically, they've done shade, I think they did the shade structure at Island Village Elementary School.
I have not
Okay.
ventured in that.
So they have experience, but I mean, we need the accountability that you provide, basically, and the expertise.
Okay, so as far as my schedule goes, I'm not saying that I'm not available. It just gets a little sparse because I start a 5-week project pretty much as soon as I'm out of Spring Park. Jeff knew, I don't think anybody else knows, I own a Christmas decorating company, have for decades. So come the 1st of November, I kid you not, I will literally fall off the face of the earth. Anything non-Christmas just comes to a screeching halt until all of that is up.
No.
Until all of that is up, and then I flip back over, and then obviously the first 2 weeks in January are just about as awful as far as getting anything down.
So I think what will be good is, because you obviously can't make a determination on anything because we don't have all the information.
Yeah, I don't know when it's going in.
We also need to figure out what, from management, I'm now looking in your direction, and that sort of thing. I think we need to figure out a conversation on accountability and understanding those sort of pieces. I don't know if we have a special meeting specifically to go through that, but I think there's homework that's got to be done in order for us to, if we want to pose that to Grand Manners, we need to make sure that we have, what are we asking for? And then at the same point in time, if the vendor's being responsive now, and there was just a failure on the front end of it, then, not that I don't want to give you any business, but have them do that, but then still pursue if we need to figure out some sort of remediation or compensation from Grand Manners as a result of the failure on the front end of it.
And I would like if I'm doing it, I'm assuming there's a drawing somewhere to make sure that the posts for the shade structure are not in the middle of the use zone, and there's some surfacing issues at East Village too, so I don't know if that's something that is tight, like you're kind of taking into consideration with that. There's a picnic table that keeps getting moved into the back of the swings where it shouldn't be, and in a big old bush that's growing in. Because basically the swings, you can't do anything in the 2-throw zone, and they just keep getting, put over there.
Maybe we should remove the table.
Yeah, so I think, what is the board's appetite for what we want to do on the shade discussion? Because I think that's another sort of topic.
I'll pose this to
How
the
does the
group.
workshop-
So, I'm good giving Grand Manners like a week or two here to make sure they have everything buttoned up and resolved, but know very well that we do not want to see any further screw ups or delays. And if we do, then we will be trying to pivot to Diane or someone else.
I agree with that, but Katie asked this exact question 2 weeks ago at a meeting, and now the answer is different again. So I do agree with what you're saying, but at what point are we going to just start moving this stuff along forcefully?
Do we want to give them until our workshop that if we don't see improvement, then we kick it in?
So I think, so if I'm hearing correctly, we want to make sure that we'll put this to the workshop. At the workshop, it's not really a discussion, it's actually a checkpoint.
Yeah.
So this is really the discussion at that point in time.
Right.
I'm now looking at grant managers. You guys are gonna.
Listen, I'll put it on record, if in the workshop, if there's some things that we don't front end that push this further, we'll own working with Diane. We love working with Diane. Diane, you'll Demetrius, you and I talked on the phone before. We'll do a T&M with you and we'll figure it out, but listen,
who from Grand Manager is going to take lead on this? So can we just, is it Jacob? Is it Demetrius? Is it Lauren? Can we just identify who's taking ownership? That's number one. And then what's going to be the cadence for updates leading up to the workshop? Can we just have a discussion real quick about that? So who's going to be the day-to-day? How are we getting the pulse updates? And then what's the expectation going into the workshop? So let's start with one. Who's going to take the lead?
Jacob has volunteered.
Jacob has volunteered. We're involved.
I volunteered.
All right.
So
Okay, so that's number one. So number two, let's make sure this doesn't get buried in our management update. Let's get separate, whatever cadence we deem to be appropriate. I'll get updates in the middle between the workshop. Make sure that we're getting good updates from there, and then we'll get the final update where we are, public meeting, etc. And then we need to determine as a board what happens if we don't get progress that we need.
Yeah, I think, so Jacob, I would ask if the board agrees that we would work for, we need an update by Wednesday of next week to understand what the status is, which would also include when the anticipated installation date is. The vendor should be able to tell us that if they're already in permitting. They should be able to get a ballpark to understand. So if we don't have an update at that time, I think the update could be, we don't know, but we just need to hear back by Wednesday of next week. Is that okay? Any other comments about Long Meadow Playground? Awesome.
Good.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you, Diane.
Awesome. All right. So now we're going to G, which is website document security.
So I'll start with this because I have questions and I think there's some explanations owed to the residents. I see you have your CIO on this call, so I think we're taking this as seriously as it needs to be. That's, I'm assuming, a real Grand Manners person. Is that correct?
I don't.
Bob Young, is he with you guys?
I don't think. Yes.
Just a resident.
Okay. Okay. So background here is that it came to the board's attention last Thursday that there was resident financial information, specifically account numbers, and payment statuses and past due statuses and payment dates and things like that, available to the internet, just generally available on the internet, exposed behind any password or anything like that. It was brought up by management on Thursday.
A resident emailed management earlier in the week, letting management know that Grand Manners was posting resident financials or the association financial reports online. We found out a couple days later.
Yeah, it took 3 days for the board to know. So one of my questions is, why did it take 3 days for the board to be notified of this? As it was explained to the board, it was 20 accounts in Oak Pond, Greenlawn that was exposed. It has since come to our attention that every resident's account information and financial payment history has been exposed.
Since 2022.
Since 2022. There are images of checks and account numbers and routing numbers and full financial information has been disclosed. So I don't understand why we were only told that 20 residents were affected. I am interested in knowing what has been done to notify all the residents that this data leak, I don't know what we want to call this. It's not a breach, leak. Okay, thank you. Lauren, you said you spoke to the attorney and there's not a lot of risk here. I want to know, was that CROA's attorney or Grand Manners attorney? Okay, is that an expense that we're incurring? Are we paying for you to get legal advice on a mistake that Grand Manners made?
I was calling on CROA's behalf. in terms of CROA's liability.
We get challenged.
Okay. And has there been any consultation with Grand Manor's attorney on this when a suit from the community comes? I mean, I feel like there needs to be a conversation there about what the general liability is overall. And also, I don't understand why this wasn't caught when the website was cut over last year. All of these documents were re-uploaded and had a chance to be checked last year, and they should have been audited and reviewed when the new website went up. So I don't know who wants to address these questions, but these are the questions that I think everyone in town deserves an answer to.
So the website documents, when we were first notified, it was just identified as either Oak Pond or Blue Sage. That resident notified Rose, who then went to our lifestyle and communications director, and she thought she had pulled all of those documents that she could find from the website. She reached out to Freshy Sites to ask them to pull any legacy that they had and ask them what went wrong as to why they weren't behind the firewall. They came back with saying that they were mistakenly allowed to be indexed, and they had unindexed them and reached out to the Google search engine because they have an expedited unindexing process, but the other search engines, we had to wait for them to unindex, and that was going to take time. Then the following day, a different service area came up and said that we found their financials available on the web. So I asked Liz to remove all financial documents from the website. She had informed me that she did. The next day, I found out that didn't happen because another one popped up, and I went into the back end of the website and was able to just do a keyword search of FIN and found additional financials. I personally deleted all of those from the website. I had Jacob double check that they were deleted from the website. We reached out to Freshy Sites again, asked them where any other financial documents were living because we were still finding them in web searches. They said there were still files on their SFTP server. We asked them to delete any files that said financial on them or quarterly something, because some of the old legacy 2017, 2019 financials were on there still from the service areas, and they were labeled as quarterly whatever for the service area. So we asked them to delete those. They deleted those as well. However, there's still legacy data out there. We reached out to IDIQ, which was your previous website provider. They still have some of your information on their server. We've requested that they delete those from their servers as well, but we're a little bit at the mercy of their time frame. The resident account information that was released, for the most part, it was their SIRANET R number. That's just an internal number for us. Yes, there were other check routing numbers that were out there, but most of the account numbers were just the SIRANET number, and that's just an internal Grand Manor's number. We did speak to the team when this came to our attention and asked why the full financials were being uploaded, especially for the service areas, because we don't do that as a practice for the CROA financials. We cut those off after the balance sheet. So you don't see the AR, the AP, all the resident account data. We were informed by our team that they were requested to upload the full financials by the service area committees. I question why they didn't push back on that. And they didn't really have a full answer other than they were abiding by the request of their committees. Questioned Liz as to why she didn't raise a red flag as to this, and the answer was she didn't look at the documents before she uploaded them. So there was disciplinary action taken for those involved. Jose's been involved in trying to work through the legacy data. But there is stuff out there on the internet and it's hard to get stuff back once it's out.
That's the concern.
The town hall, there was town hall documents too that had all that information as well. So it wasn't just the service areas that had that attachment. It was all of town hall, and I sent that.
Yeah, I had already deleted everything from the back end of the website that I could see. When you sent that link, I sent that to Freshie directly for them to delete any legacy link that they had.
But why was Grand Manners including that on the website?
I don't know. We don't typically include that in the.
But you did. And it had all of the bank statements as well for the association with account and banking information.
I understand that. Fortunately, you have switched bank accounts since that date, so those aren't active bank accounts.
But it's what happened. It's
I
like,
understand
it's
that
the action
I
that
understand.
speaks volumes.
I understand it's what happened. I don't know why that one was posted.
There was more than one.
It's not the standard practice that we engage in.
But you did. And that's what I don't understand.
Here's the thing, and I think, so I want to be very clear about a couple of things. One is that the financial statements that are uploaded on the website was an ask of the board to go onto the website. And I totally understand where you're saying that the information should have been scrubbed and it shouldn't have been there. But
I don't think you're hearing what I'm saying. We have, yes, financial information. We get a board packet, a monthly financial packet that includes everything. And then on the website, it's just supposed to be the first part. There's documents that include all of what we receive as board members on the internet. So that is a problem. That's different than just us saying, you know, when the board says publish the financial information, we're saying publish, I mean, I can pull stuff up right now. It's still there. They're saying publish the financial report. And I mean, and they're not saying, the board's not saying, go ahead and publish our bank statements. You know, that's a problem.
Yeah, I'll add that it sounds like there was a process that Grand Manners had to update the financial statements, but that should have been just the balance sheet and the expense, not the ledgers and the bank statements. So I think as a go forward process, ledgers and bank statements should never be uploaded to the site, and it should just be the bank statements and expenses.
I don't want this to get out of hand. I think the biggest piece here that I want to also stress is that all of these records can be obtained by a public records request by a resident. I understand that they should not be on the internet, and that there's a problem here, and that something went horribly wrong. But
residents can do public records requests, not random people outside of Sullivan.
You're correct, but you also can't tell me that a resident that does a public records request keeps that information internal to themselves.
Then maybe we should just keep doing it.
I don't think that that's the solution.
But that's kind of what you implied.
No, it's not.
That's not what it's about. No.
I think that
Anyone can, once it's published, once someone has access to it.
No,
But on Facebook, as we've seen,
That's just not correct.
No, that's criminal.
I guess it took us 3 days to know this, and we still haven't gotten all the information until right now as we're learning new information here. I don't understand why it took 3 days, and what is going to be done. Do we need to shut down the website? What do we need to do to get this information done? And what are we doing to notify residents of what information has been compromised? It has been a week since this has happened, and there has not been the serious. This is extremely serious, and we can downplay it all we want and say it's not certain information. There should be no financial. I shouldn't know that any of my neighbors, as a board member, yes, but as a resident, I shouldn't know that someone didn't pay their dues and had to pay fees or late payments. That should not be something that the entire planet should have access to.
And a resident emailed us Management was not the first to notify us. We found out from a resident.
If a resident sues you.
So I think,
Graham,
nope, our time, thank you. So I think the biggest thing that I want to know is what do we want Grand Manners to do? We have to give direction, because I think we've identified that there's a problem. I think we need to understand what we're going to do about this, because we just need to understand what we expect.
I don't know what our legal liability is here now.
Yeah,
I
can
understand
we
it
talk
wasn't
about what
allowed
the
for
lawyer's
20
opinion was? Because, can we talk about what the lawyer's opinion was? Because, there was a characterization that this is a significant data breach. So what I'm hearing is this was not a significant data breach, it was a leak. So my understanding is obviously there are certain credit monitoring and things along those lines that are obligatory. What's kind of the position? Is there a position? Have we asked the position beyond just kind of the general, what are our obligations to do we need to notify everyone individually? Do we need to offer, does Grand Manners need to offer credit monitoring? What's kind of the next step? And then obviously the go forward, and it just never happens again.
Maybe, I don't know how to do.
Yes.
And we should shut down our site until everything.
I absolutely agree.
Shut it down. The world can move on without our site until this is fixed.
To Charles' point, I agree. We do need to know. Originally, the legal advice you got was when we were told it was only 20 residents,
I never
correct?
said it was 20 residents.
Okay.
I said this is an example of what is out there.
So did they know that it was everyone?
I did not know that there were CROA financials out there at the time, but I did say that there were a number of resident account numbers that were out there. It was an unintentional leak of the information. And the attorney's response was, if it's an unintentional leak, then there's little liability.
So I think
so we have Stacy and we have Demetrius. So can we talk about two? Obviously, I would hope Grand Manners doesn't have other properties that this has happened to, but do you have experience with this with other properties? What has happened in this instance? Can we talk about that?
So I'm personally not aware of Grand Manners properties having challenges like this, but in my previous world where this has happened, because sometimes it does happen, we have offered our services. If something fraudulent does come up in the future, we would take care of, right? Whether that is credit monitoring, whether it's making the client whole or the customer's whole. I think in the initial conversation, we asked, have we seen any fraudulent activities on these accounts? And the answer has been no. Once again, they're SiriNet accounts, right? Not wholesale bank accounts. But that is something that, yes, we can come to the table and partner and offer those for those that are affected if it comes up in the future. That's a no-brainer for us.
So I think Go ahead, Charles.
Start there. Yeah, and then so let's start there, right? We talk about accountability, right? It's a buzzword, and you want to put some teeth behind it. Let's start with that. So is Grand Manners prepared to offer that? Is Grand Manners prepared to notify the residents, take on the credit monitoring, whatever, $5 million, whatever that is? What can you offer as basically fix this?
Charles, I think that the challenge is the issue that we've run into over the past week is that we don't know the full scope. And I think that, there's pieces of this where we still don't necessarily know the full scope of everything. We keep finding something else out there. I personally think that there's two things that need to happen. One is that I do think we need to consider, as Celia had recommended and others, do we need to turn off all hosted access, period, to the website, which means not just turning the website off. I think we need to be very clear with that. It means that we need to make sure that there is no access to any hosting that would host a document. Because as we learned when Lauren referenced the SFTP site, that doesn't live within the public website itself where it's linked to something. It's just files sitting on a server somewhere. And so I think that we would need to understand that we say all of these things now need to be turned off or paused for a period of time for us to do essentially figure out what the heck's going on with this. two things happen with that. One is that we need to notice the community that it's happening, that this is why it's gone down. And also understanding that, what is just turning it off isn't the solution. We would then need to understand, do we need to spin up a completely clean posting environment? And we kind of start over and, figuring out, something from there. And then everything that exists currently, it just goes away. We say, yeah, we don't know. And then that way, whatever gets put on the site, there's accountability and there's knowledge of it moving forward on what's it. That's one idea. I'll pause there for
Can we
thoughts.
utilize our technology committee to do some of that? And our communications committee?
Well, but Grand Manners, but Grand Manners really, there has to be some heavy lifting, I think, on the Grand Manners side, because I don't think we want to necessarily put the technology committee or residents or even our own staff, because obviously there's staff time involved in this. So what resources, I'll go back to what I said, what resources are Grand Manners prepared to offer to fix the current state, and then obviously the future state we can and should talk about.
Yes, Stacy is here.
As liaison to the IT committee, are they able to do it? Yes. Should they? A definitive no. This is on Grand Manners to clean up, not a committee.
Agrees.
Go ahead, Stacy.
Yep. Hi, everybody. First, I'm deeply apologetic for what has happened. And Eric, I think your words were spot on with respect to understanding the scope and the gravity of what has happened, because as I'm also learning along with all of you tonight, I had some understanding, and tonight I'm getting more understanding. That said, what I'd like to do as an initial next step is I will reach in to our chief technology officer and ask her to engage with, I'll say Lauren, unless I get direction otherwise, to utilize her knowledge, expertise on what we need to do, because this sounds like every step of the way it is growing some more legs that none of us have the expertise to frankly be able to do some if-thens and figure it all out. So I'd like to do that as an initial next step. We absolutely have to notice the community. We absolutely have to contact the specific owners, because I'm hearing their personal bank account information was out in that website. In addition,
No, I don't
yeah.
believe that's true. I just want to clarify for residents. I don't believe resident bank account information is.
Okay. Thank you, Jared. Yeah, thank you. That is very helpful to hear. So I think then again, understanding the gravity so that we can effectively communicate to the community, to those specific owners, to let them know exactly what data was leaked and the steps we're taking. If that means offering credit monitoring, I'm happy to agree to that as well, to those residents that are that they believe they are compromised, their information was compromised. And then once we can really wrap our arms around the scope of the situation and information, then we'll be able to really talk more intelligently about what we can do.
Okay,
and again, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jared. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just to be clear, I know you need more time to wrap your head around this. Today is day 9 that Grand Manners has been aware of this. And I keep asking why it took 3 days for the board to know. And I still don't have an answer for that. So the timeline is much far gone. I think this needs to be your top priority.
Yeah, understood, Jared. I am absolutely right there with you. It's inexcusable that it took us 3 days to let the board know that we knew this was going on. That is absolutely inexcusable. So I agree with you.
This kind of happened, Charles, this happened back in 2022 also. And
it happened in 2022. I think I notified Cindy or someone. Yeah, so I mean, it's not necessarily the first time. Now that was the full board packet, though. That was the full board community financials. Right. I think those got removed pretty quick. But I don't know. I don't know kind of what happened. I wasn't on the board at the time. So again, there needs to be controls and whatnot to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, agreed. And to answer one of the other questions, I have not heard of this situation happening with any other Grand Manners community. So it is not something that we have a go-to white paper on here's next steps, other than what I'm suggesting is getting our chief technology officer engaged so that she can understand and help us navigate what we need to do to ensure we have uncovered every bit and piece of potential data that's out there.
Why wasn't that being done last week? Why was our executive director the one having to go in and delete everything herself? When we have her as someone to run the community, why wasn't someone from Grand Manners corporate taking ownership and helping out with this?
So it's a third-party website. She wasn't the only one deleting. You actually worked with Freshly, and they wrote script upon script upon script upon script, because they manage that website. It's not our website. They manage it for us or for you folks. And every script that they wrote, even they assumed it was all handled. Then we would get an email from you saying, hey, this is still
I can send you more.
right? And so that's the frustration. I mean, really, that's the frustration. Everyone's frustrated.
But I'm just a random person. Like, I'm nothing. And in the world of IT, you have the resources at your hand to fix this quickly, and it hasn't been done.
And we went to the source, which is Freshly.
They're not doing it.
Once again, they are the ones that control and can wipe out those other sheets.
So I think a couple, so I want to try to get a little bit of a game plan together. So I think understanding the severity of this and that sort of piece, I think we do need a daily update from management. And Stacy, I'm probably going to be leaning on at your level to make sure that we're getting something back from Grand Manners by a date starting tomorrow, a date of what we've uncovered, what the current recommendation is, and what the current next steps are. Because I think we don't want to spend time still trying to analyze pieces. I personally would like a recommendation by the CTO from Grand Manners if we need to turn off access to the site by tomorrow. I think that we need to figure that piece out. Because bluntly, the architecture of the site is messy. And I think that we can ask Freshly to do things, but even they're saying, we've gotten it cleaned up and we're still finding stuff. So I think that we need to understand at some point in time, we have to stop the bleeding. And if that means that we have to stop everything, that means we got to stop everything.
But is there a third-party vendor that when stuff like this happens, like it shouldn't be me Googling or Yahooing to see if it's there. Is there someone that they can do it much more efficiently and say, you know, Freshly, this, remove it. Like, why should someone like myself having to look at this and send it to Lauren and then she removes it? There has to be some sort of expert out there that cleans up messes like this.
We don't disagree.
God knows.
And we thought we had that refreshment. We thought we had that refreshment.
But I showed you didn't.
And every time you showed us, listen, we can argue back and forth on that. Clearly,
What I'm saying is, I would like some resources. I would like a vendor to someone. So I honestly, I don't really want to shut down the website because residents go there to get information. And once we shut it down, I'm not confident in how long it's going to take for us to get it back up either. So I've lost a lot of confidence, honestly. So if there is a third-party vendor, when stuff like this happens, that knows how to clean it up quickly, I think that is what needs to be done as a first step.
I think the challenge, you have two things. So you can hire an information security company or someone that does penetration testing to be able to do something like this on the website, to do an audit. The catch is that it takes time to do that. The stop the bleeding approach is you close the door, which unfortunately is turning off the website.
We should have known last week.
And so I think that the challenge is we need to understand and make a decision on what to do. And then continue to work and try to figure out what the mitigation plan is for noticing the community that also still has to happen, understanding, we need to get a legal opinion, again, understanding that the scope has changed from the initial question that was asked, to be able to figure stuff out, to then be able to figure out what we need to do. Because I think there's the IT part of this that we have to solve for, but then there's also the legal aspect of it too. I think we need to do those in parallel.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say, I agree. I think the website needs to be shut down right now. I think someone needs to be told to take the website down. That's the only way we can stop it. And if we can get the information off in 2 days, great. But stopping access to the URL is the only way to make it. And we've known for a week and it's still all there. It's the only thing we can do to reduce the liability.
To try to close this, are we in agreement we shut down the website and then by Friday, Grand Manor's CTO provides a report of what next steps we take?
I think we need to be very specific because I don't want to say shut down the website. We need to disable any of our hosting, period.
Yes.
We will be able to.
He's our chair.
It's time.
Yeah, he's telling the call to the residents.
I'll move to motion to have someone recognized from the audience.
Bill Long, 1103 Ashby Lane. This is a multi-layered problem. Shutting down the website immediately is not going to solve it because, as has already been stated, the information has been cached by search engines and is out there and searchable. So you would need to hire a company to go out and address every single search engine to have that data removed, number one. Number two, the files that have been removed, is there a backup of them? Because there needs to be an audit of all those PDFs to search for what PII, personally identifiable information. Now, name, address, phone number is not PII. Social security number, bank account, credit card number, that is PII. So if that data is not in these files, then you don't have a liability from that angle. So it's going to require an audit, basically. Shutting down the website tonight is not going to solve it because it's already cached in all the servers. So it may be smart to pull all of the PDFs that are uploaded to the website off temporarily and then have them uploaded back once each one has been verified that it doesn't have sensitive information. So those would be the steps. Again, if there's not social security, credit, check routing numbers, you're not dealing with a PII breach, quote unquote, that requires credit. So it's unfortunate some data has been leaked about the behavior or financial activities of residents. That's a question for the lawyer. But taking down the website tonight's not going to solve it, though removing all the PDFs is a good step. It's painful. This is not going to be quick. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be simple.
I think that the challenges, though, is that we don't have confidence that we can remove all the documents.
You can pretty quickly through the back end of the website, because that's how files have been removed already.
It'll take more than so far 8 days.
So, a copy of everything needs to be kept so that an audit can be done of the information. And files on an SFTP server, you'd have to have a password. That's probably not a problem. But what's available through the front end of the website is those PDFs that were uploaded on the back end of the WordPress site. So if all those files were removed, that would take it off the website for now. Files can be audited and put back up one by one. Still doesn't solve the problem of everything being cached at Google, Yahoo, everything else. So taking down the website immediately is not going to necessarily solve this problem.
Okay, thank you.
So audit step, bit by bit, is the key. So as the legal issue.
Thank you.
So we've talked about a lot. Can we come to consensus on the next steps? There's been a lot of talk. I think we're all on the same page. But can we just recap for management, for corporate, what exactly is going on, expectations, next steps, timeframes, all that?
So I think we need
the immediate next step is getting the CIO, right? And Stacy.
I think we need to, at this point in time, Grand Manners is fully aware of the challenges that we have. I think from this step forward is the board is expecting by tomorrow a recap or some sort of a action plan from the CTO or CTO's office or their designee or whatever you want from them in order on what we're going to do, and the timeline thereof. And I think that it's key that we make sure that the timeline thereof is, we're not talking about months. This needs to be in days on quick action, on understanding what needs to happen there. There's the technical side of it that I think that we need to understand. I also think that the board is expecting that Grand Manners, at their expense, we do need to get a legal opinion on what actually we need to provide the information that has been leaked, that is out there, and we need to get an updated legal opinion on what to do, essentially, on, you know, risk and liability, not only to the association, but then also what would be recommended as far as what needs to be provided to residents at that point in time. I do think that this is a little bit of a moving target because we're not going to know what we know until the CTO starts to do a little bit more of the digging on Grand Manners side. And I think that as a board, we can continue to funnel information into Grand Manners, but this is where I'm going to ask the question of where should we funnel that information? Should that come into Lauren? Should that come into Stacy? What would be the preferred path as we discover things or things are reported to the community?
How about everybody's in on that email? Lauren and Stacy and Etrius.
So I think that's fine, but I think that I want to make sure that there's one person that's accountable for response back to the board, confirming that they have this and it's being added essentially to the incident.
I will take that, guys.
Okay.
I'll look at the CTO and Stacy.
We're all supposed to do these searches? Is that our direction?
No, I think that
so we need to talk about notification to the community also as a next step. So how are we going to, who in Grand Manners is going to take the lead? Is that Metrius? Who's going to be crafting the communication? How is it going to be distributed, et cetera? Can we talk about that?
I'll craft the communication. We'll work with, I'll work with our corporate team.
Are we all in agreement that we'll have that communication by, what's today, Wednesday? Can you have it to us by end of day tomorrow, early Friday? Does it work for everyone?
Tomorrow, end of day tomorrow would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're in agreement, end of day tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Then what? So let's go through each step, folks.
And it's all about the details.
That's why we're going through this exercise.
Yeah.
Let's get the details right. All right. So we've talked about the communication to the community. You're talking with the CTO, the CIO about the audit and going through all that. That's fine. All right. Now what?
So I think the other piece is to Katie's question on understanding like what we're doing and what the next steps are with that. We're not doing the searches. I think that that's what we need to understand what the plan is from the CTO's office, whether that would need to bring in a third-party vendor, you know, and if they're going to do a InfoSec audit of what actually is going on. As Mr. Long mentioned, there's processes and procedures for this that can be followed, that if you hire a vendor, this is what they do. I think that we kind of need to wait until we hear that decision point, even though I know that we've been waiting long enough, but we've escalated it now to the executive level. I think we need to hear back from the CTO on what their plan is. And we can still say that we're not happy with that. We can still say that we need to push or we disagree with it.
What's the timeline we set for that?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
So I just have to quick, in your diligence especially, can they remove all the PDFs fairly quickly?
Yeah, I can ask them to register to move all PDF docs.
There's 1,591 PDFs on the site.
I mean, I can, on the back end, I can do a bulk action of just delete these, and then they would still have to delete them from their SFTP piece as well, so it's not on that legacy thing, because that's where we're pulling stuff from as well.
So I want
on
to
the
be,
index.
the only thing that I want to be careful of is that right now, I'm not 100% sure on how the site's architected today. However, backups used to be run on the site weekly. If they're being run more frequently than that, then we need to make sure that a legacy backup is still retained outside of that retention window, so that you can still understand to make sure that we can audit that.
Yeah, I just texted Jose and asked him to get with Freshie to get the latest backup and then have all PDFs deleted.
Perfect.
But I think I'm sorry, we really got to be mindful about this because I don't want us bleeding staff time on audits and things. And I think to the extent that we can, as a board, if we all agree that really we need to continue to leverage the resources of grant managers to take care of this. I just don't want Jose to be redeployed dealing with this for 8 hours when other things have been sacrificed and suffering. So are we all in agreement on that? Because I think that's really an important topic that we need to be rallied around.
So Charles, we're fully in agreement. It won't be the staff time auditing the documents. Jose's just going to notify them to do the backup and delete. Once we get the backup, we will be corporate. I'll supply all the manpower from the property. I might have to touch base with you every so often to see what this and that, but we'll take care of the auditing of those accounts.
And I do think that a notice to the community needs to be made, even if we don't have all the information yet. I know it's a little risky, but I think that we need to notify them that we're aware of this, because I can guarantee you, I haven't looked at my phone, but I can guarantee you that the community's already been noticed.
Yes.
It's up.
Okay?
Yep.
So, and I'm sure, you know,
All of it.
so I think the biggest thing for me that we need to understand there is there's going to be a lot of information that's likely going to be coming to the board very rapidly that's going to need to be verified, and we're going to need help. And so, and I think that that's where we're going to need to understand, you know, what actually is going to happen there. I won't ask if everyone's okay, but I'll understand.
I think these are good directions.
Direction,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm good with direction and ready to move on with the rest of our agenda.
Okay, perfect.
I'm going to get moving on tonight, so you
Okay.
expect me for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Any other discussion on document security?
No, but in action items, I will motion to approve A through D.
All right, so there's.
We can do some grouping here if
I'll
ever.
second.
Okay.
So there's a motion on the table to approve action items A through D. Just enough, or is there a second?
There's a second.
Okay.
I second to just make sure everyone's aware of the Jared's motion that B is 6,650, not 2,650.
Yes.
Got it. All right, any discussion?
I had a couple of questions about this Fountain's Day surprise expenditure. That was the Monopoly game. And there's the paper in the packet with what the Monopoly game is going to look like. And I had asked Lauren if there was any mention of Island Village on this game, because I didn't see any mention, but it's incorporated into the game, Island Village. So
We've
the Island
ensured
Village
that all,
residents,
yeah. We've ensured that every village is incorporated into it.
Got it. So you got a satisfactory answer? Just to, okay, perfect. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? All right, motion carries. Action item E, motion to approve annual gutter cleaning, 14 service areas by Universal Gutters in the amount of $30,300. This is a service area funds expense.
But that would be 13 service areas. One service area to look at.
yeah. Well, this is the original.
So I will motion to approve for discussion.
All right, so we.
I'll
have-
second.
Perfect. All right, discussion.
My concern is that I understand what you're saying. My concern is maintenance. If we don't do it and then the gutters are overflowing and then we have landscape issues outside and then we're paying for landscaping and then we have all the other water intrusion, all the other things that go with not doing this. I don't know what the specific cost is to your association.
So can I speak?
So I'll move to recognize Smithy, who's the chair of the service area committee.
Sure, so we had this done last year, the same gutter cleaning company. They had to come back 3 times because they did not clean the gutters. Correct. We watched them and videotaped them every time.
Was that the same, it's not the same company?
Maybe not, it was one from here in town, Celebration Company.
It's a different company this year.
Oh, different company, okay, anyway.
So that's, so,
So finally, after the third time, they were clean enough. We've all inspected them because we just had a painting done on the gutters. All our gutters are clean. Most of our gutters are 3 stories up, so there's no trees that high. So we just checked all of that, and we do have a lot of drainage issues right now that is impacting landscaping and a lot of things that we need to use that money for. So that's why we were moving it to another year for us. So you are correct. We are gonna have problems with landscaping and other things, but that's actually our landscaping is coming up next. That's the next motion down.
Yep.
And we were moving money to that just for our particular surface area. And then next year we probably will want to come back to get the gutters clean. But this year we've got a lot of water intrusion in other areas that we want to move that money to. That's why.
Okay. Can we remove a single service area? Can we?
Yes, you can remove a single service area. I'll just note that it is a service area responsibility to annually clean all the service area gutters. So they're essentially waiving our obligation to do that cleaning.
That would be correct.
And can we do that all verbally?
We can. Plus, we have it in writing from them.
Okay, then I will revise my motion to approve 13 service areas, less the $4,200 for Academy.
so my question to that is
Hang on,
a
Susan.
company
Sorry.
doing the gutters?
Wait, I need a second.
Wait a second.
I'll second.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, it's the company that's doing the gutter cleaning, gonna, with minus their estimate? Is it gonna be just minus their estimate, or are they gonna say, no?
Rose already reached out to them. They said it's just minus their estimate.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I say I'm good to approving the 13. Just want a formal letter from that service area committee to Lauren and Grand Manor so we have that coverage.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any
Who's that?
abstention?
That made that motion, Jared and Katie?
I didn't.
Yeah, Jared, motion and Katie second. All right, perfect.
Sorry, I'm not sure. Come off mute.
A motion to approve F and G together.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, and discussion. Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries. Motion to approve rule change for the large dog park as recommended by the dog park committee.
I'm the one who has a problem here, so I will motion to deny, but for discussion.
All right, there's a motion. I'll second it. All right, discussion.
And I actually, if Paul is able to provide any insight here, it's my understanding that we are changing a rule that small dogs are not allowed inside the large dog park until we get a legal opinion. Is that correct?
That was at the meeting, that's what they wanted.
Okay. I know for me, I have a 33-pound dog, which is required to go in the small dog park. Katie has a 7-pound dog, and my dog terrorize her dog and be much too aggressive, where my dog is fine with a 70, 90-pound dog in the large dog park. So am I not allowed to, with this rule, am I not allowed to use the large dog park? That's what this is saying.
Yeah, it's as ambiguous as it sounds, because first of all, personally, I don't agree with it. The committee agreed with it. This is what they wanted. They have some valid points. There's valid points on the other side. I think that it should be up to the individual owners who are going to sign a release or anything. That's why I really want the legal people to tell us where we stand. Again, I understand exactly where you're coming from, but we do have probably, I can think of a dozen small dogs.
Yeah.
That come into the large dog park and get along fabulously. In fact, probably some of them are pushing to the bigger dogs.
That's how mine is.
I don't have a problem with that as long as the people understand the liability is on them, not on the dog. That's why I need the attorney.
I agree with that. So I will, yes, I still think we need the opinion. So I will say in my motion, I think we need the opinion, the legal opinion, but I don't think we should make this action before we have that.
I would agree. I would say that this should be tabled until you get an opinion from an attorney, stand. And then even then, it's got to be some discussion on it.
I'll modify my motion to table.
I'll
I'll second.
Katie beat you, Andrew. So there's a motion to table. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'm in favor.
And abstentions? Sorry. All right.
I'll motion to approve I through L.
All right, there's a motion on the table to
I'll
approve.
second.
All right, and a second. Discussion. So I think the only piece that I want to, there's two things. So K and L are related, just for
education.
No, I'm sorry. Just L is related. So this is the same verbiage that we want to add in regards to code of conduct that's currently in place in the covenants committee resolution, but we're adding it in the ARC one specifically as well, correct?
And the master resolution.
In the master resolution, right, the overarching one. So got it.
That would be, what are we adding to the ARC resolution, Laura?
It's in the packet, isn't it?
I don't.
I mean, we don't need to read the packet out loud.
Well, we don't need to read the packet out, but we want to.
It's consulting body members shall refrain from conducting their own inspections and taking pictures of resident homes with their personal devices.
Right, that's added to ARC now.
And the master one.
Right.
So, perfect. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, the motion carries.
And I'll motion for approving M through O.
I'll second.
All right. There's a motion and a second.
Who do you get for second?
I'll give it to Andrew, because Andrew hasn't gotten it yet. All right, any further, any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're on to the fee waiver request.
I'll motion P through R.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. All right, now we're on impact.
I'd like to make a motion to direct, well, I think we first need to make a motion to sunset the master plan advisory group as the group.
I believe, so that's not, you were going to let them continue.
But the way it's written, my next motion will be to solicit management to get applications from.
I'll second it so we can have discussion.
Charles seconded discussion, so I think Jared explained. So essentially, we're going through the process of closing the door on the original committee, but then we were going to reopen to do.
That's been in the charter from the beginning.
It's the charter.
I understand that, but the conversation last night was that we were going to keep that group. That group was going to remain unless I was at a different meeting, and I said, can we keep this group? We never brought up solicit applicants or anything.
I mean, that's just the charter that we're bound by to do that. I believe everyone on that.
What did you say, Charles?
So I didn't mean to cut you. Why don't we just extend it and add a new provision that will carry?
We could extend their time.
I don't know I don't think we need to rewrite a new resolution or a new charter. Like the mission is the same. They're done with the first deliverable. Why don't we just write a phase 2? and just extend it.
What if-
Then we don't have to do a
What
new
if we
call for
did,
candidates.
what if we did this where we extended them through April of next year, and then that's when the advisory group turns into a committee?
That's a
I think-
great idea.
Challenge that I have with that is that we essentially need to give them new direction.
Correct. And we only need 5 members for a master planning committee per their own chair. So I have no problem with all of those. Obviously, I've worked with them and
Yeah, this one, that was the discussion we had.
It's not like we can't rewrite, like, it's not static, like, we're talking about rewriting it, so we amend it to add people that are on it, and the composition, like, this is all stuff that we can amend, and I don't think we need to, like, over-engineer this, because I think the group is solid, they have the right people in place, they're doing great work, they've got the 851 RFP in flight. I don't think we need to disrupt it a ton with a whole different set of stuff. I think Andrew's thought was spot on, like, extend it to April, because that'll run parallel with a lot of this 851 stuff, and then hopefully at that time, if these other motions carry with splash pads and everything else, there'll be plenty of meat on the bone to deal with.
but the charter for this group they've completed everything that they're supposed to do. Lauren's nodding.
All
Tell
right,
me.
so phase 2, so right at phase 2.
I think from a,
So right at phase 2.
so I think from a process perspective, if I recall correctly, and I was just trying to pull up their charter, I think their charter specifically says, once they're done, they're sunsetted, and the board would then, they would recommend a path forward of how to constitute a committee, and then the board would constitute a committee based on that recommendation. I believe
Yes.
that's what it said.
Yeah, and that's all I'm trying to do is follow the process that we all have established and have been following.
Right, so that's what I don't understand, why we agreed to keep it last night, if we were gonna change the comments, unless.
We can keep them. They're all going to apply. They've all said that.
Right.
And then it's up to us.
We're instructing management to put out a call for applications.
That's how we do every committee in this town.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
It's completely standard protocol.
And we
I'm
should.
fine. I'm good with that then, per Jared, that we shut it down and then we stand it back up and call for candidates, and I'm definitely wanting to keep everyone that's on there if they apply, so we proceed in that direction.
So
All
we're writing, so who's going to write the new, so this is effectively a new so we're sunsetting and then writing a new with a new call for, so how's that going to, how are we activating that exactly?
I'll write that. I'm happy to write that based on their report and circulate that to the board.
Yeah, so let's call the question on the sunsetting one. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Celia is opposed. Any abstentions? All right, perfect. Is there
And
another
then
motion?
motion to direct management to solicit applications for a master planning committee.
Oh, second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Management understands what the direction.
Do you want us to wait till the resolution's done, or do you want to just?
Do you-
And
Can you publish the resolution with it? Because I can do
we
it.
usually do like a little blurb of what this group's gonna do.
I can send you that tomorrow. So yes, I can do that.
So you guys are good.
I can be open till the board meeting, then following a month until the next board meeting. Everyone okay with that timeline? Okay.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? All right, perfect. Anything else on impact?
The next one?
I know the next one is T, so just want to make sure that we're good with impact. Okay, all right, so T, splash pad.
Part of the master plans, well, I'll make a motion to task management for soliciting bids for a design firm for a splash pad for discussion.
I'll second it.
All right.
So the very first attainable thing that they mentioned was a splash pad. They gave a budget of $600,000. So taking out the $75,000 they had for contingency, that leaves us $525,000 for design build, someone who's going to do it all, or $475,000, which leaves $75,000 to pay a consultant to design it so that we can pay someone else $475,000 to do it. I don't care which way we go. I think we should pick one and tell management, please solicit proposals based on one or the other. That's the budget. Based on reality numbers and get proposals for that. My reasons are this costs us nothing to do and it lets us immediately start working on a master plan objective.
Seems to make sense to me.
And they recommended the splash pad as an option based on speed and affordability. So I don't know, Lauren, do you have any experience with splash pads in communities? Any recommendations?
I did some research, and it looks like splash pad builders are similar to playground builders in that you're looking at kind of a design build option.
Great.
So like we go out to however many and we say, okay, give us your top 3 options for us. And then we kind of whittle it down to your top 2, and then you pick one and finalize the design.
So isn't this, I'm all in favor of starting to put the pen to paper. Isn't it a little premature to start putting out RFPs when we really haven't even talked about, I understand getting market interest and whatnot. We don't even have necessarily the funding strategy yet with 851 and some of these other things and the playgrounds and the maintenance. I'm just concerned that we're going to do this. We're going to direct management. The comment about that it's no cost, that's not accurate. There's staffing costs, there's sweat put into it. I trust me, I want to move forward with this stuff and I want to get this stuff built. But I think we got to slow down a little bit and digest this and also have some conversations about the prioritization versus just throwing RFPs out there. That's my only caution. But I mean, I don't know. Change
So
my
I guess
mind.
I'll come in here, and we're talking about a splash pad for Lakeside only, correct?
Correct. The impact recommendation.
Lauren, what is the reserve study that we currently have for the Lakeside kiddie pool and refreshing that?
It's up for resurfacing this year, but we could cut that out of those bids we're soliciting.
And add that into it.
And then my other thought to Charles was that if we're talking about, $500,000, $600,000, there's adequate funds in the capital to be applied for this. And it was a top 4, and some people could say top 2 based on how everything shook out in the survey, that this is something we can take action on and we should.
No, I'm not disputing that. My concern is just 851, just the unknowns right now. And before and again, trust me, I want to get all this stuff built. I really, really do. It's really important that we do the splash pad, and the things that were in the 2025 to 2027 that we can do, we should do. But I'm also just cautious about what we put into this. And obviously the resources with management, because obviously then other things, I get concerned because we've been down this road before. So, like I said, I'm open to it, but I think we have to temper our expectations a little bit.
I would say we've never been down this road before. We've never had a master plan and then done something with it. So
We have to show them that we have
Well,
some.
but we've gone down the path with we've gone down the path with law and sports, and then other things suffer too at the same time with maintenance and other things. So we just got to be careful to not make the same mistakes as we've done in the past. So that's my only caution with this. I'm putting that there, and we have the track record to validate that we've tried to do Celebration Hall, we've tried to do law and sports, we've tried to do Lot D, and when we do that, other things suffer through the process. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying we need to be mindful about how we approach this and not throwing out RFPs mindlessly.
So I think this isn't, if I'm recalling the motion correctly, we're not really going for an RFP at this stage. We're essentially just trying to mobilize the impact recommendation.
Right.
And that's the ask at this point in time. Between now and the workshop even, we're going to have a better picture on our financials. We're going to have understood what we're looking at for 2025 and trying to figure out those pieces. I agree with what you're saying, Charles. I think that we need to make sure that we don't let other things suffer. But I think that at the same point in time, we're always going to have other things going on. So we need to at some point cut off the leg, and we need to go for it.
And I'm going to vote in favor of this. Honestly, I am, because we need to move on it. But there needs to be caution to management that you're going to need to be good at doing a lot of things. So
restating my motion to solicit bids for a design build for a maximum budget of $525,000.
And I second that.
All
And we're
right.
gonna utilize as much as that area at Lakeside.
Well, we will provide them
Right.
all the documents
Yeah,
that,
impacts record.
yeah.
That wasted area.
Yeah, because we don't want to go outside the fence. We don't want, if they've done all the work on this, all we have to do is say, build it.
But there could be some other ideas too.
Sure.
Management's clear on the direction? All right, perfect. I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? All right, perfect. Management update.
Management update. Welcome Jacob Waddle to your first board meeting.
Are you having fun yet?
Initiation. I'll just stop to say thank you. Thank you to the community, to the committee for this opportunity. I've been a long-standing resident in Celebration, and I look forward to making a positive impact in our community.
Thank you, James.
He's hit the ground running. He's met with all the staff, or the vast majority of the staff that are directly reporting to him. We reorganized a little bit with his start. So all department heads except for IT, finance, and Jacob report to him. Those three are the only ones that are now reporting to me moving forward. Your current vacant, you do have new directors of facilities who's starting on September 23rd. He was the top pick by both, or all three, Demetrius, Jacob, and myself. After the interview process, we threw Jacob to the wolves on day one, and he interviewed the candidates for that position. Current vacancies are a communications manager, a little history on that one. The lifestyles and communications director is no longer with Town Hall. We have decided to split that position and those disciplines into two separate positions because they are two very different disciplines, and it's very hard to find somebody that is high quality at both positions. The person that was in there prior to Liz was a bit of a unicorn and made it work. Previously, Lifestyles and Parks and Rec were up underneath one umbrella, so we're going back to that approach. It's my understanding that that split was because of personalities in Town Hall at that time, so we're going back to the model because we know it worked before. We're going out for a communications manager position that, Jacob, I believe you've already gotten some good applicants for, so we can actually have a quality person doing communications with some marketing background, advertising, and we can really push that envelope a lot more. You still have the maintenance lead or the new landscape project foreman. We're really waiting for the director of facilities to get on board before they hire their number two, because that's going to be their right-hand person. You have a maintenance tech that's still vacant and a part-time park and pool monitor that we're actively interviewing for. Management staff moved out of Town Hall effective Friday, June 6th. We have been back on site at the 700 Celebration Avenue building effective August 1. The front counter is still at 690, but they will be moving to the stick room at Lakeside effective the 4th of September, so the Wednesday after Labor Day. There should be no downtime for the front counter because we're doing this move after hours and partially doing it Friday and Tuesday.
Where is all the maintenance now? Like, they used to be in Town Hall, right?
No, they were never at Town Hall. They've always been at the maintenance shop that is on Celebration Avenue on the right-hand side by Memorial Garden, yeah.
Do they have bathrooms down there?
They do not.
They have no bathrooms?
No,
No.
and that, in my first week with the staff was one of the largest pain points from our maintenance team as a request for restroom use. It's very inefficient, and as I say, not fair.
That's not, no.
Currently, they use the woods, which doesn't work for the porters.
Yeah, or have to leave or have to
Well, their
leave the
porters are
site
women.
to go to Heritage Hall to use the restroom.
Can we
So-
bring that up at our workshop or discussion?
Yeah, I think we need to, I didn't realize there's no bathroom.
That sounds like a great master plan committee task.
Yeah.
Uh, Or is there a recommendation?
Well, we know we need to put restrooms there. The HVAC needs to be updated. That building as a whole needs to be updated. So I would agree that the master plan advisory group, with their talent, they could kind of reimagine that space a little bit to give us an idea of then to go out to bids to kind of upgrade that area.
Good question. Yeah.
Any other parts on the management update?
Unless you guys have any questions, it's been a pretty It's been a chaotic month, but it's been a busy month.
Oh, go ahead.
Just one more small thing is with the restructuring, there is no plan to change any current headcount with that restructure or any of our staff budget.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
I know you mentioned the gazebo is supposed to start work next week.
Yes, that's what Darwin told Jacob.
In their bid, they mentioned needing permits. Do you know if that's something that is going to be required? Because I remember you said they're bringing like a big, like, crane.
He said he didn't think he needed a permit the last time we talked to him. We talked to him this week because we met about the bathrooms too.
We did mention about the concern of it, and so it is something to be looked into. We also was mentioned that this is something, an outstanding item that is top on radar.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they filed for permits, so I don't know if they'll be able to start next week if it's needed. But you mentioned the bathrooms. This is something for the board. I don't know how far the conversation has gotten with them at the bathrooms, but I think based on the price, we should require a performance bond in the contract. If that's something like the board wants to, you know, do.
It's definitely over the dollar threshold that we discussed last year for the performance bond or the liquidated damages. So that would be part of the contract. We're not at contract stage yet. We're still at the design stage. We basically told him that your ceiling, your high ceiling is 300K. We'd really like to see it less than that, but maintain the quality. Because that's the feedback that we got at that finalist meeting. So they're going back to their designer. She's drawing up some more specific plans. We mentioned that we did not like the tile that they proposed for the women's bathroom.
So that'll fall into the contract with the bond, or they
The liquidated.
Are they kind of aware of that? Like, do you think they'll have a
Our
problem?
template contract went out with the design build RFP, so they,
Okay.
if they're not aware, that's on them, but we will remind them of that. And then when we're ready to pursue a final contract, that'll come before the board for approval.
So as far as the MPEG's recommendation, because I know there was a lot of pushback about, we'll wait until they come up with their recommendation. And I clarified it last night when they spoke about their presentation. The bathrooms are going to be still the bathrooms at Heritage, at Lakeside, and North Village. So us moving forward with them was the right decision, getting them fixed, because they had nothing to say about the existing bathrooms. It was what's going to go into their recommendations for the new building. So
He did say that if price became an issue where we would need to cut quality, he would have an issue with that because he does provide a longer warranty than most other contractors. So he did want to note that in terms of the conversation piece that we might be having further down the road.
How is the Smart Webs implementation going?
I finalized data validation of the original celebration addresses last week. There were some addresses that they had that were park addresses that we don't need to pay for inspections. They were provided the Island Village additional plats last week as well. So I'm waiting for them to load those into the system for them to do that data validation as well. But
These are, oh, go ahead, sorry.
So I already have access to the back end. So we're working on getting the letters updated and the timing in terms of the escalation frame. I did want to stop uploading letters because the communications committee did finalize their recommendations for the letters. They were sent to legal. They were sent to covenants today. So once covenants gives me the thumbs up on that one, then we'll start uploading those letters. And when data validation's done, we're gonna tap the committees to help do testing with run-throughs with covenants violations and ARC applications. And then once we're confident that, you know, the bugs are worked out, obviously, I'm sure not fully all bugs are gonna be worked out because we're gonna find something. but once we're confident in rolling it out, we will roll that out to the community. My goal is a mid-October timeframe, but that really depends on the data validation back and forth.
Okay. And what's the, how are we ramping up staff to get trained on it? Is that happening now, or is that going to happen? What's been the process to get the inspectors and ARC onboarded?
So the staff have the training videos that SmartWebs provides. Really, a lot of the internal training is going to be on our process and how that works in this new system. So that's going to be part of the testing with the committees as well. We'll do some internal testing before we tap the committees.
Okay, and the chairs know that's going to be on their agendas?
Yes, we've chatted.
Okay.
So I have because I'm so technically savvy, the smart webs, is that going to release any information into technology world allowance that we don't want out there?
We'd have to review it.
I don't know. We're putting more information in another website? Is that gonna like?
I think that the difference here is the solution that we're utilizing for SmartWebs is purpose-built for what we're trying to do.
Okay.
So in other words, we are utilizing a solution for exactly what it was intended for. Whereas with the website solution, it's a little bit more open-ended, and it's not as firm and rigid. I know when the technology committee did their audit of those pieces, security did come up as a question, and I know that there was discussion with that sort of thing. I think the other piece is that SmartWebs was utilized in the community prior, and there wasn't any incident to my knowledge of that when it was here. So that's a good question.
And this is really, residents aren't going to know SmartWebs versus the prior solution. So there's no like messaging that needs to go out to the community. They still get their covenants letter all the same, right? There's nothing they need to do. There's no action they need to take. There's nothing in CROA. There's nothing that needs to be sunset. Is there anything from a resident experience impact that we need to think about?
So what we have been talking about internally is when we're ready to cut over, clear out all the outstanding covenants violations that we're doing through this manual process and then start clean.
That's good.
I don't know when that date's going to be, so I didn't want to put that date out to the board for you guys to approve pause on inspections for that time frame. But as soon as I know that date or have a better idea of that date and time frame, then I'll bring that to the board.
Okay, yeah, just keep it on the radar just so we can have dialogue ahead of it, not the day of.
We want a clean cutover with no legacy data that we're trying to live in both worlds.
Yeah, I think the other question to that is we would need the ability to disable somehow the resident access side to CROA for architectural review as well as covenants. Because if I log into my CROA portal as a homeowner and I look at it, I technically can see that for my property.
So I'll have to get with corporate on that one, but I do have a question. Do you want residents to still be able to report covenants violations in CROA? We could then transfer those over as just an initial inspection into SmartWebs, but it's just a reporting piece.
We get a lot of volume there.
Yeah.
Is there the ability for it to
It's,
be
one or two a month.
Yeah, is there the ability for it to be replicated in SmartWeb?
That I have to ask.
So I think that we don't want to lose any functionality.
Yeah.
So if we want the ability for someone to report covenants violation or suspected covenants violation, we want to still be able to provide them to do that, whether it's in SmartWeb or CROA.
Most people email us or put it in GoGo.
Yeah.
My celebration at
Yeah, I was going to say, I assume email is more the primary channel, but I agree. I mean, to the extent that we can emulate, just so there's no disruption, and again, the messaging, if there's, if we need to direct folks to another, it sounds like we're not. It sounds like this is just, they're no longer going to be able to see this in CROA. So, and I guess then email addresses and everything, that's all going to, how are you, how is that working? I'm sorry for belaboring these questions, but I want to make sure we just have this. Because
So
before you use
the town
Syrinet to
hall at
drive.
Syrinet email will, the town hall at Syrinet email will still exist. That's still how we communicate with residents for the most part.
No, I'm sorry.
And
No, I'm sorry. I mean covenant. So I mean covenants, you were driving it through Syrinet, correct? Covenant violations?
Not right now. Right now, it's a fully manual tracking in spreadsheets and mail merges.
Okay, so all right, so then that'll all go. So email addresses will be through SmartWebs. Residents won't be able to see anything in Syrinet once you cut over.
Yes.
Even the history.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Well, like they will see violation histories if they received a violation when we were doing them in Syrinet because that's attached to their property record. And I can't delete that. But everything moving forward will live in SmartWebs.
I just have one question on the management update. Lauren, can you confirm the contract extension has been signed by all parties?
It was, yes.
Can you forward that to the board, please? Thank you.
So I do just have a question and within the management update in regards to landscape maintenance. So, and we're on a roll tonight. So, Brian, I know you had some questions in regards to like next steps in regards to you know, some of the weeding that we see and those sort of pieces and that sort of thing. I just want to make sure that we have a plan for resolving that, because things are, we're getting a lot of feedback that things are starting to suffer. And I think that we want to make sure that well, I'll leave it there. We just want to make sure that that feedback's heard and that we're getting a plan to mitigate that.
So we have talked to Brian about the weeds in the various areas. He has been focusing on that. He had a My Celebration FL task force going this week to close out outstanding tickets.
I noticed.
That's great to hear.
So he has been working overtime with his team. He just got back on site today or yesterday?
It's part-time.
Part-time, yes, part-time back on site. But yes, we have been in consistent communication, and when we get feedback from the board or residents, he's a text or a call, getting that feedback in real time.
Okay. So, so I think it's good to hear that we need to figure that out. I think that the other piece of this is that we just want to make sure that there's not a backslide as we come in and we start to see a lot of these things where we start to focus in another area and then something else starts to slip. So I think that would be a concern. There was a resident question that came in regards to pesticide application and licensing. I'm sure you probably don't have the answer here, but I'm putting it out there at a notice meeting that we have that question and we just need an answer on it.
So I did reach out to Brian about that. They subcontract their pest control with the largest pest control company in Kissimmee, I think is what you said. Yeah, if he can speak to it, because he's the one subcontracting to it.
He sat through all this. Come say something.
I can address it real quick. Pest control, ornamental pest control, horticultural pest control. What we deal with is in Florida Statute, Chapter 482. Anyone feel free to read Florida Statute, Chapter 482. It's thrilling. Nowhere in there does it require me to hold an LNO, which is lawn and ornamental license, to employ another. Okay? Our pest control team that is out here, just so everyone in Celebration knows, our pest control team that is out here is fully licensed. They're like the largest family owned in the city of Kissimmee. That's why we chose them. They're very responsive, pest control, really good guys, family owned, father, son, and son. I have called University of Florida IFAS Agricultural Extension Office, explained what we're doing. They said that there is no problem with that. If it was a problem, the entire pest control industry in the state of Florida would collapse, because every landscape company does this. Property managers hire pest control for termite ponds, for structural pest control, rental agencies. Every rental agency in town hires a pest control company to spray the property. If they all had to have the license, it negates the need for a pest control company to do the work for you, number one. And number two, to even achieve this license, you have to have 3 years understudying someone in the field, just like plumbing, electrician, all of that stuff. So I have called the Department of Investigations with the Department of Agriculture Bureau of Investigations to inquire about this. They have not yet gotten back to me. I called them 5 days ago, 4 days ago, something like that. I think if it was an emergency and they were coming for me, they would already be here. So I'm not concerned. This is a practice that Justin Superior used, Newly used. I'm not sure who else. Yeah, I'm not concerned about it.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. So I think the ask that I would have is that once we get the information back and everything's on the up and up, and I will reiterate this in my board comment period, I need some help responding to these messages.
I'll respond to it.
So,
I don't want to respond until I have that.
Yeah, no, totally fair. But I think that we just need to get that answer back, to the resident that inquired.
There's a GoGo ticket about it.
Okay, perfect.
Just have one question for Brian. I know last month we were talking about the 1, 2, and 3 parks and kind of grading system. I know you've been out of commission a little bit, so is there an expectation that, say on like a monthly basis or quarterly basis, that you're going to put together your 1 through 5 grading as far as what parks are hurting and which parks maybe need more focus for us?
Yeah, correct. We lost Brian, who we went with the first time, so we don't have him to go with. So it would just be Albert and I. We have not been able to connect since the last board meeting. Hopefully, if we're able to get together before September 23rd, we'll ask Lauren if we can still Jacob for a quick ride through some of these parks. I did speak to Albert earlier today. He has given me some sketches for amphitheater. So I'm working up an estimate for amphitheater, and he told me today he's got some rough sketches for Longmeadow and wants to sit down with me to polish those up.
How do we get rid of the mushrooms? This year, for some reason, only because
It's just this year.
I've been going to Longmeadow for 2 years now. It's like they've taken over, it's not even our parks, they're all over, these white mushrooms.
Yeah, they're, mushrooms come with rot. That's the number one. There's a thing called a fairy ring. It's a circle of mushrooms. You see it on construction sites a lot of times. Take a shovel and dig right in the center of that fairy ring. You're going to find a piece of wood, whether it's 1 foot or 4 foot or 6 feet deep. That's what's causing those mushrooms.
So is there wood on the Longmeadow?
There's wood under everywhere out here. There's decomposing organic material just from years. That's what's causing it. Getting rid of them, I can talk with our fully licensed pest control team to make sure that, see if there's something we can do.
Can your team also, I'm sorry, but like, because I'm at Longmeadow every day for 3 hours. Can your team,
She wants you to pick up the branches.
besides cutting the grass, can they pick up the branches that have been in the bushes for like a month now?
They're supposed to have done that this week.
Yeah, okay.
I do think that,
Savannah looks good.
Savannah looks good.
So one thing from Savannah looks good because it's
Take
all
the
fresh
wind,
and new. Every plant at Savannah Square flowers, except for the border hedge that's around there, the holly. So nothing's flowering right now, except for a couple of things, but every plant there guaranteed flowers, and we'll make them flower.
Sounds good. So I do think that it's important to note with the maintenance schedule and some of the landscape improvements that have been done, that there's concerns on some of the plant sizes and those sort of things. And I know, once again, I came back and I said, it's going to grow. So you need to put spacing in between things, that sort of thing. I assume that's why in some areas people say, well, you know, you need to put in more plants, but the reason why you don't want to put in more plants is because there needs to be proper spacing in between.
And with proper spacing is proper airflow. And without airflow, we get problems like rot and fungus and stuff like that. So typical 1 gallon spacing is anywhere from 14 to 21 inches. Typical 3 gallon spacing, a rows could be spaced 5 feet apart. Whereas if you're trying to build a hedge, you're gonna want them like 2.5 feet.
Sure. Okay.
That's right. There's different spacing. I will say on the weeds and stuff like that, there's no excuse, you know, it's, we're not overburdened with regular maintenance. There's too much maintenance. And I don't mean that like we underestimated anything like that. We took over the parks June, July, and August. The toughest years. Any landscape company coming in June, July, and August on any property that's already burdened with problems is going to struggle. If we took these properties over in November, December, and January, you'd have people calling in saying, I'm so angry I can't find a weed in this park. You know, and that it's just relevant. So consider it like 1 month that we can accomplish in the winter time. It takes us 3 to 4 months to accomplish that same amount of work in the summertime. So the time of year that the parks were taken over has detrimented a lot. But like you said, it takes a minute squares to win. If you've seen the athletic complex lately, it's looking really, really good from where it was. We probably had like 30% weed coverage in there and dead spots. The thing is glowing green. It's like Mark was not kidding. We're ready to open it this weekend. So it's going to be ready for this season to open on the 4th. And the weeds have gone from about 30% coverage to now about 5% coverage. So we're taking little victories that we can here. And then as it turns around through the wintertime, we're going to have that opportunity to fix everything. Is that right?
And I assume that the same licensed pest control company and applicator that you have would also be assisting with things like a pre-emergent application and those sort of things as well, correct?
Correct, and we're also exploring the possibilities of using a pre-emergent application, which to my knowledge has never been done in celebration in plant beds. In offset areas, when you put down a pre-emergent application, you basically put an invisible shield down there and you have to leave it alone. So these need to be in areas where we don't have to walk through and maintain, because when we walk through, we break that barrier and then weeds can come through. So we're toying with that in some areas that will cut down on a lot of maintenance. That would be applied like springtime.
Sure.
Thank you. Can I, thank you. Can we move along with the agenda?
Sure. Any other thing for the management update? Oh, sorry. All right. Dog park chemicals.
I feel like we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
So the dog park committee finally approved the chemicals to be used in the dog park.
Great.
By Ryan, he hasn't been spraying yet, he will start spraying, so hopefully the weeds will start to go.
Great. Good.
I didn't even hear what she said.
Dog park chemicals are approved. Okay.
Good there.
Good, Celia?
All right. So 851 insurance evaluation. Or we should have moved you up.
What, us?
Yeah.
No, she let us know that we were, yeah, it's no problem.
Yeah, that's right.
So, now, after hearing tonight's meeting, I wish we were first.
Yeah.
But, so welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Hey, I'm Debbie Wisniewski. This is Michael Papilli. We're state licensed public insurance adjusters. We had requested at your last meeting that we take a reevaluation of Town Hall, the 851 building, just to kind of get an assessment of what was going on and whether or not there were some issues with Hurricane Ian that would be covered under insurance. We did have the opportunity with Warren and Chris to take a look at the building. They took us around, they showed us the stuff, areas of concern. We went over a lot of stuff with them. And overall, the outside of the building is in good shape.
We didn't see much on that side. However, on the inside of the building, there was some issues here and there with the mechanicals, and Mike can take over from here.
So you received our letter. I was vague for a reason. The reason why I was vague was because I don't want to hurt anybody's chances, the board or the residents, of having an insurance claim by putting something in there that might be misconstrued or used against you in the future. There's a lot of information out there in those reports that are available for people to see that could be harmful with some of the things that were said. I always try to tell people.
We won't upload it to the website.
Yeah.
Right, there you go. Well, it's already out there.
Yeah.
There's, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I'm not saying you should be dishonest with an insurance company. I'm saying is never guess and give them information and say things like might have, could have, should have, because that's going to hurt you in the long run. If you don't know it, it's easy to say, we don't know.
The big key here is being factual with the insurance company and presenting only the facts. So the answer is, I don't know, it doesn't hurt anything because you're not guessing. When you start to guess, that's when you start to run into a lot of problems.
There was a number of things that I wrote down there that I was corrected on actually by Lauren. I thought the reason why you guys were leaving the building was for mold, and it was more than that, it was electrical concerns because of the water ingress into the building. That's mostly from the windows. The windows are old. That is actually a claim, how much money you can get for old windows. They're going to reduce that in replacement cost insurance. We didn't see the actual property policy. We only saw the liability portions of the policy. You pay a lot of money for that, and we believe that you should have a discussion on whether or not you want to go forward with this. Some of those bills that you've already paid are reimbursed, and it's a lot of money.
So first off, thank you guys. I read the report and that sort of case, and I know that the other folks that walked with volunteer from the community that came to as well, they were impressed. So thank you. I think the question that I have is kind of a next step on what are our potential roads that we can take from here. And I think that one of the questions that I always have, and this is me being a dumb homeowner that doesn't do insurance, is don't make a claim because they're going to cancel your policy, sort of. And so I think that just some guidance on that, or the facts of it rather, would be better.
So there are regulations in the state that state, basically they lay out what the rules of insurance are. They're not necessarily laws or regulations. The insurance company has to follow these regulations. And the regulations specifically for certain types of policies, like homeowners insurance, is when you have a homeowners insurance claim, the insurance company cannot single you out for a rate increase. So they're not going to say, if Eric submitted a claim, we're going to increase his rates, but only his rates by 30%. They have to increase the entire state. They have to petition the state and explain why they want those rate increases. All that information is available on the Department of Insurance Regulations website. You can watch the hearings and everything else. The insurance companies come forward, say, hey, this is why we need these rate increases. Now, if you have a claims-free discount, you will lose that discount. You no longer qualify for that discount, so you don't get it. But they just can't say you submitted a claim and we're going to cancel you for that. There are reasons for cancellations. The first So there are reasons for cancellation. One of the obvious reasons is you don't pay your bill. And this is for all insurance policies. Okay, so this is commercial, this is everything. So the first one is you don't pay your bill. The second one is called material misrepresentation. And then that's at the time of application for insurance, you were not honest. So they asked you a specific question and you did not answer that question honestly. The third one is pretty obvious, it's fraud. And you don't want to get caught with that. And the fourth one is called substantial change in risk. And what that is at the time that they issued the policy,
the property was at a certain risk level, and now that risk level is much greater. Because that risk level is so much higher, they can cancel your policy because there's more of a chance of a claim occurring. And they don't want that liability of the claim. So that's why every policy, commercial, all that, they're the reasons for cancellations. So being canceled for submitting a claim is not something that we usually run into. It's actually, when people hire professionals, that's when they don't get canceled. The other thing is people always are concerned about non-renewals. Insurance companies are non-renewing people left and right, businesses, they're pulling out of the market, even for commercial policies. It's harder and harder to get insurance. But non-renewals is again something that if you submit one claim, it's not something that you should necessarily worry about. Most insurance companies will renew even commercial policies with a claim on them.
We've done a number of commercial large losses, from 400,000 to close to 4 million. And not one of them have ever came back to us and say, hey, they raised our rates. Hey, they're getting rid of us. Homeowners, a whole different animal these days, but not in commercial. Commercial's rated separately. It's rated on experience. So if you have a lot of claims, they're going to look at you adversely.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
yes.
So what is your recommendation that we need to do?
You file a claim as soon as possible because the time is ticking. Hurricane Ian is 2 years from the date of loss. That's September 28th. Did you ever get the property policy from them?
I didn't.
That's a problem.
That's the biggest problem we run into is that insurance agents, when we ask them for the policies, they'll send us something like the declaration page and we're like, hey, we need the actual policy.
You have some information.
So we need the actual physical policy, and that is literally hundreds of pages long. And, that's something that we have to go through in depth as we're looking at this.
It's fun reading if you want to.
Yeah.
But when we renew, when we renew, I understand if we have the agent, but we should still get a copy of the policy every renewal period, no?
Yes, you should.
Okay, so I hear what we're saying, but we should have this either digitally or via print.
Actually, Charles, you have two things happen. Every year you should get a renewal page and your declarations.
Right.
But they usually only issue the policy at time of issuance. So if that was 10 years ago, good luck.
Yeah.
Well, but this is self-serve. We should be able to go on. I mean, this is, I assume if it's any other insurance company and I work in insurance, it's self-service. We should be able to go on, retrieve the policy documents. Let's just get if we have to go around the agent to get what we need, we're the insured. So let's get it, Lauren and team, and move quickly. We should be able to get this without hesitation.
Yeah, so to Charles' point and to Jared's point as well, I think we need to figure out what our action plan is. And so the recommendation is to move forward with filing a claim. I think the piece here is that as part of that filing a claim, we would contract with you in order to be able to do that. And I'm sure there's terms or whatever you might put for your fees and those sort of things associated with that. So I think that sounds like the road that we're starting to go down. I just wanted to make sure that we were all at consensus.
If you're interested in those materials, we can send them to you so you can review them. We do not have an issue with that.
So
this sounds like a great workshop topic.
We don't have a lot of
I think we need to get consensus around this now because time is up. Because I assume there's time to prep the plan and get it filed.
What are we going to do?
So I think it's noticed as a discussion item tonight. I think one idea that I would have is that we ask management to get a copy of whatever the agreement is in order essentially to contract with you guys in order to move forward with filing a claim and that sort of thing. I think that even if we need to hold a special meeting to say thumbs up, thumbs down, on anything, and then that way, Charlie can take a look at the agreement, see if there's any red flags, and then we just get going.
Great.
Well, date?
I think it was
September 28th.
Was it the 20th or was it the 24th?
Yeah, I think it's the 28th. That's when the storm hit.
Yeah, it's the day that the storm hit. I mean, remember,
Exactly.
Great.
We all good?
Yep.
All right. Management's good? Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, it's interesting. I have to say one thing. So for you old people here, you'll remember this. I'm sitting there and this is going back and forth and, you know, it's getting a little bit heated. And I turn to Debbie and I go, I feel like David Hasselhoff felt when he was doing his worldwide introduction for his singing career on pay-per-view. And somebody turned on the TV and there was a slow-moving chase of a white Bronco on a highway. And that was it.
That's it. That's all you got.
He never did anything after that.
Thank you. My Hasselhoff days are.
Thank you.
That's great. Capital resale assessment. I know we've had a little bit of discussion on this already.
Yeah, let me jump in real quick. I was hoping and expecting that we would have an MPAG recommendation yesterday, because we do have one from finance, but we don't have one from them. So in trying to right size this and make sure there's a proper awareness to the community, I'm good tabling this until our workshop, and that's where the decision will be made.
Okay,
Great, thank you.
sounds good. And then Montessori youth playground.
I would say this should go to, I would recommend this should go to the rec committee before we bring it to the board.
Good idea.
Okay,
Great.
that sounds like a plan. I've covered all the discussion, I have, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, board comments.
None.
Okay. We will need to do I will ask that we do a workshop at some point in time. I'm falling behind in responses to resident emails, and I think that I need some guidance from the board on if I just simply need to stop being detailed, and stating that we received this and we're going to forward it along to management. Because I think
that's okay.
we need to understand that part.
I appreciate your thoroughness.
Yeah, so I think it's okay if it's onesie twosie, but it's onesie twosie an hour. And so I think that's one thing that we can work through. So if we're all aligned there, I'm going to likely start to be much more generic in my answers, stating that we'll do that. And then we can workshop that as needed.
Do we had a scheduled workshop to September 11th. Do we need one before that?
I think we do because.
Workshop September 11th is really going to mostly be with finance. That's a finance. So we need our own workshop.
Yeah, we've got a few items. We've got the shade structures. We've got obviously the stuff we talked about with the data. We've got the insurance stuff. I mean, I think at this point we have certainly enough. And obviously any discussions around the capital assessment, I think there's plenty of stuff to keep us busy with another meeting. So I'm in favor of having another meeting soon. But go through the stuff.
So we want to.
I'll send out a doodle poll.
Yeah, send out a poll for when we can do something.
We set a date now so we know.
Just do the doodle, please. We don't look at calendars now.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, next week? Or the week after?
Is there anything next Wednesday on the calendar, Lauren?
I have to ask Nikki if
What room is available? Yeah.
available.
Yeah, that's true. We need to know that. I won't be here next week. Sorry.
Can you sign in?
No. Too many time zones away to sign in.
Let's just do a doodle poll so we're not doing.
Sounds good.
Yes, yeah.
I agree.
All right. Any other board comments?
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Awesome.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Good job, Eric.
Thank you.